Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom. My name's Bahamut, joined by Grubby and Justing, and I'm sure a lot of you are all excited that there was some sort of footage of Silksong. I know I was excited before the game started today, but we are here to talk about Heroes of the Storm. Silksong, Grubby.
You see my face.
The sequel to Hollow Knight that is totally existent hasn't been like. It's a sequel to Hollow Knight that a lot of people are excited about.
I just googled it. Yeah, no, first time I heard about it. I'm quitting HoTS. I'm gonna go pro in Silksong. I'm gonna cast.
You actually probably could, because there's like randomizers and stuff and like races that people do in Hollow Knight. So if you ever want to dip your toes into that variety realm, Grubby, I highly recommend you try Hollow Knight. It's a Metrovania. It's really, really fun. Beautiful music, beautiful artwork. Boss fights are really fun as well.
Maybe if I do a subathon sometime. When is CCL subathon actually? Like, you know, like we're casting like 15 best of fives in a row. Oh wait, that's the LAN.
August 5th LAN happening August 5th through 7th at the Mall of America and
no
Wisdom
sleep.
Gaming Studios. No sleep, only Heroes of the Storm. But it has been a little bit of sleep since we've seen some Heroes of the Storm. So of course, Justing, what have you been up to in the break from yesterday to today?
I beat the spooky game that everyone's been playing, and
Oh, the Quarry.
Yeah, I almost got all of my counselors killed off, so that was my game.
I almost finished it on Friday. I was like 6 hours in the stream. I was like, I gotta take a break. Like I gotta stop. So I'm gonna be finishing on Tuesday. I'm really excited. I got a couple chapters left. I do think of that game. Grubby, for you as well. It's a spiritual successor for the game Until Dawn, where it's like it's a choose your adventure sort of thing. It's a little on the rails. It's a horror game. You choose different paths in the game and different outcomes happen. Let's say you open up the door and the killer's there. You've killed your camp counselor. Congratulations. Some people take it on as a challenge to kill all the characters in the game. You can save all the characters or you can kill them and you can get like different endings and stuff. So
it's a spooky game. It's like a choose your own adventure type game.
That reminds me of Planescape Torment. My brother and I were playing it, and there was this fiery guy, like a fiery infernal guy. He was like dancing in a bar or something, and I was like, cool, let's kill him and rob him for his items. And I did. And then like way later, my brother recruited him as a hero into his squad, and I was like, no, what have I done? And there were no more old save files. Yeah.
Well,
it shows that you shouldn't just kill on sight. That's the moral of the story really here for everyone. Think before you...
You know, I think about that, and in one of my moments in the Quarry, I instantaneously took a shot without even thinking. But let's take a look over. I'm so sorry, Grubby. Let's take a look over at our prize pool and see how things have changed since yesterday. To be transparent with all of you at home, 60% will be going to the players. First place taking 35% and broken down further on the bottom left of your screen. Over on the top right, you do see that 40% will be coming back to Wisdom to be able to create amazing graphics, run the league, and put on these broadcasts every weekend for all of you at home. If you'd like to donate towards the prize pool, you can get yourself over to the Matcherino and by typing !prize pool in chat. Because of your generous donations, we're at $10,624.44, and I do think in between these games, after we have our Kyle Ferguson interview, I think we're going to get some fuzzy friends on stream. We'll get some treats given to our wonderful, wonderful four-legged friends. Maybe we can get a Springy if she is feeling like she wants to jump up here. But let's start talking, Grubby, about some standings, because we did have a couple matches yesterday and some things have moved around.
I like to refer to this weekend of CCL as maybe the best weekend, because in this weekend, if we had a Swiss system, round robin style, this is what it would look like. What that means is that every team was meeting another team that they hadn't faced yet that is also closest to them in score. 30k, it was 4-0. They were playing a 3-1 team. Storm is 1-3. They're going to play a 2-2 team. The 0-4 team was playing another 0-4 team. And we see how some of those have turned out. Now we're going to see all our 4-match teams play against each other in this 5th playday, and all of them are really close to each other in score. So all of the games should be really close. We had a 3-2 reverse sweep yesterday, the first one of the season. We may see more today.
It's exciting stuff, and actually, Justin, can you break down what we will see today, as Grubby has alluded to, two amazing best of fives?
Yep, up first we've got WildHeart going up against Chili Mountain. Both of these teams are fighting for second place right now. One of them will be 4-1, so that's super important for them. And like Grubby mentioned, they are the closest in the standings. And then in our second match, we've got Oxygen going up against Storm. Both these teams are kind of in the middle of the pack, but one of them is trying to push into the top 3, top 4 by the end of the season here. And their matchup against their kind of neighbor on the standings makes both these matches super important.
These matches are going to be exciting today. I'm super excited about this one. When I was looking at the week number 5 sort of matchups ahead of time, I was like, yeah, Saturday looks good, but Sunday, that's going to be the big marquee day with 2 best-of-5s with really a lot of movement to potentially happen in the standings, as Grubby and Justin have mentioned. But what I want to mention right now is our amazing friends Next Level Gaming, because they have joined us once again for HeroesCCL. What is Next Level Gaming? They're a Miami-based esports center where you can play Heroes of the Storm among 400 other pre-installed games that are updated daily. Next Level Gaming is also a Blizzard Cafe, which gives you some extra benefits on your Battle.net account, like all heroes being unlocked and extra experience. They've got HP Omens with Intel i7 processors and RTX 3090 graphics cards, and with such amazing hardware, you gotta have a great monitor. They got 2 options for you over at Next Level Gaming: a 24-inch monitor at 240Hz and a 32-inch monitor at 144Hz. Be sure to use !NXT in chat to find out all you can about this amazing esports center. But of course, we talk about our esports center friends over in Miami. Let's talk about our other friends, Ball Street, because HeroesCCL Fantasy is back. We partner with Ball Street to bring you CCLmarkets.com. It's a free pick'em game that lets you choose CCL winners in real time as you watch the action. Simply buy shares of the team you think is going to win the matchup, sells shares of the team you think is going to lose. The best part, you can change your mind at any time because the market, it's always open. Buy and sell all match long to get a better score. Every night, the top traders on CCL Markets will win prizes, and you can compete all season long. Join cclmarkets.com and win prizes as you watch today's broadcast. Thank you, Ball Street, for partnering with CCL, and thank you, Next Level Gaming, for sponsoring HeroesCCL. But of course, Justin, Grubby, we got to talk about these rosters, because we've got some stellar rosters to kick off here with WildHeart. Justin.
Sure do. We've got Haben playing the tank position, IB Tings and Mason Blaze, both kind of ranged flex for the team. Weary Day, the support, Zergling, the offlaner, and Roger, who we saw last week, is their substitute for the team. Mason Blaze and IB Tings have given a ton of praise as being probably or potentially the best duo of ranged players when you put them together. They both peel for each other with their damage quite well. Haben, the newest real addition to the roster that we haven't seen, has been doing a very good job on the tank role, being able to, like you've mentioned, scout the brushes, anchor the brushes, showing a lot of tank fundamentals from this new player to the roster. WildHeart's looking very scary this season.
WildHeart is looking on fire. We'll see how they do up against Chili Mountain. Grubby, let's take a look at that Chili Mountain roster.
Let's take a look at that Chili Mountain roster. They have a new logo. Someone mentioned it should have been a mountain of chili. Like,
oh man, dude,
which would have been
I'm
cool.
right there with like just do like a chili dog mountain.
This new logo, it's a little bit less recognizable. It looks like a lightning dash, but it's still mountain. I think it's simplified. Okay, this is the new logo. But more than that, the players are still there, and this is kind of a European all-star roster. Banana H, Dayquaza, Dino, Masquerade, Ultralist, and Make. All of these are freaking sick. Dayquaza, phenomenal in the offlane. Dino, one of the most impactful ranged assassins. And we've got Ultralist with some cool special picks, and Make, super vocal in the voice comms, and a great strategist as well.
If I turn my head a little bit to the side, it kind of looks like the Harry Potter lightning bolt. Sorry. It's just I looked at it and I was like, huh, look at that. Anyways, those will be the 2 rosters for our first best of 5 of the day. We are getting everything set up for said first best of 5. Really exciting stuff between Chili Mountain and WildHeart Esports, and I'm just curious, before we start getting into map picks and stuff like that, Justin, I am curious, like, what are your thoughts leading into this? Because this is a pretty close matchup. We've seen both these teams in previous weeks.
Yeah, I'm mostly excited to see how WildHeart can do in this matchup. We saw last week they had Roger. This week they're going to have their normal roster with Weary Day back into the mix. I'm curious to see just sort of if they can continue scaling up as the season progresses, because that is the team that kind of has the least experience playing together now when they have Haben and they have IB Tings on the roster. Whereas Chili Mountain, I believe, has been playing together for quite a while over in Europe. So I'm kind of, it sort of feels like it's a standard has already been set by Chili Mountain for their gameplay, and WildHeart it needs to kind of, it's sort of on them, I think, to take it to Chili Mountain, because WildHeart, not exactly everyone's favorites coming into the season, and I want to see if they can kind of catch up and scale as the season goes on, like they have been.
All right, well, we can find out actually where we're going to for map number 1. We've got that all ready to go for all of you, so we can let you know how we got to Towers of Doom. This will be the map choice of Chili Mountain, as WildHeart Esports have have won the coin flip, opting in for first pick priority, banning out Alterac Pass, and we will see Chili Mountain banning out Dragonshire. I do like the shift this season, Grubby. We've seen a lot of Dragonshire banned. We haven't really gotten many Dragonshire games. WildHeart have played on Dragonshire 1 and 2 times. Chili Mountain not at all. But when we look at when we look at Towers of Doom, both of these teams have played on the map. WildHeart with a 1-0 victory, and Chili Mountain 2-1 victory score on that one. So overall, Chili Mountain starting out on a map they feel pretty comfortable in when we look at the minimal stats that we do have available.
Yeah, and it turns out that Dragonshire is the new Volskaya Foundry for teams. It has a vehicle that you can get into. It's a slow map. It typically goes level 20 and beyond, and the vehicle is somewhat disappointing. I rate it 7 out of 10 Volskaya, Dragonshire.
So, I feel like the Dragonite is useful, like, around level, like, 16-ish, like Justing. I feel like that's when you actually get value out of the Dragonite siege-wise. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, yeah, you breathe some flames, you maybe take down some towers, but you're not getting like significant forts and stuff like that. You're not just pummeling your way through bottom lane through all the structures.
Yeah, the main thing with it is that it's kind of a distraction tool. So you sort of typically want to send it to the opposite of where you really want to push and just create some pressure there. Decide whether or not you want to try to open up the top lane for the off lanes or not. It does feel a little Volskaya-esque, like Grubby mentioned, where a lot of the early game doesn't seem super impactful on the map because you're typically in a situation where you're going to have to take a level 20 fight eventually. And there's also a lot of things with it being such a small map with the lanes so close together, at least through the mid and bottom, where things like Junkrat and Chromie are just really oppressive to play into. There's not a lot of opportunities to siege in the early game. The only real lane that you can siege is top, and you never end through top because you've got the death bridge, the forbidden push.
Well, unless a team just lets you play Smash Variant and just lets you run through top lane in season number 2, Justing.
Yeah, I can't imagine letting a team do that. That would be embarrassing.
No, never. That would be wild.
But did they end through top?
That one I actually don't remember. Do you, Justing?
I don't remember.
They lost the game.
Okay.
That sounds
Wait,
that sounds
I thought
right.
that was that really, really good C-Smash game.
Yeah, it was. Right? And they were winning, and they were pushing bottom keep, and then I think it went wrong. If I'm
their variant probably went in and inted or did something. If I don't remember exactly,
that pesky variant. So just to be transparent with all of you at home, I know you're sitting there wondering, like, usually you guys are in draft by now. We are getting things going. We had a small little lobby bug. We had to recreate some stuff really quickly, so we are getting that going. So thank you all for your patience. We do apologize for the slight delay, but it's looking like we've got everyone in the lobby. We're just about ready to go into our map number 1. So thank you all for being so very patient. We really do appreciate you all understanding these things.
I, for one,
control from time to time. Yes.
I, for one, do not apologize. I love talking to you guys. You guys in chat and to you guys.
Do you know what I love, Grubby? Is watching you stream after CCL and you doing a beautiful impression of Syndragosa.
Yeah, and I didn't. Well, I was gonna say I didn't know you're such an artiste. Wonderful Photoshop you did, but then I did know because I've seen your paintings. But yeah, it turns out. I mean, it was funny because I was playing with CPX and I had a game with him. We joined voice. CPX is a CCL player. Some of you may have seen him play, and I was gonna play off lane because he doesn't want to play it, and so I show Arthas, and he's like, "But not Arthas, please. Like, can you take something else?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "The Haka Blaze." Now I have to meta slave. Like, I know I cast, but like, do I have to do it? So then later against him, of course, I had to pick the Arthas.
Oh boy. That Syndragosa game was actually really funny where you, I think you got like gorged or you got like knocked over a wall and you were like, if I position right here, I'll get the Syndragosa on the keep and the front gate and I'll run away. And no.
And then I missed. I mean, Syndragosa, it's such a small, thin bezel of a skill shot.
Yeah,
it's not easy to hit it right, wouldn't you say, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, something that you can do is you can bind your on release to a control click or a shift click. That's something that I learned from Cure from playing with him way back in like 2018, 2017. So I I have quick cast for everything, and then I have a second binding to normal cast or on release cast, so that I can line up stuff like Stitches hooks and Syndragosas to make sure that I hit all the buildings with it. That's something that you can bind.
I didn't know. I've just been trying to learn everything on release, basically. So, like, there's some things that, like, or not on release, but quick cast, like, completely. And then, like, on release maybe for a couple things here and there. That's a really good idea.
That's a cure idea.
Too advanced for me, but it shows why he's such a top player. Now, there's some other top players in this current draft that has already been unfolding, and we've seen bans on Lucio, Junkrat, Maiev. Maiev being more and more commonly banned right now, which is interesting. With a Muradin removal that's a little bit more out of left field, and a very strong Brightwing Diablo start from Chili Mountain.
Well, I will say this. Haben has been playing a lot of Muradin, and I think Chili Mountain just wants to force him onto something else, because that's a lot of the... It's been a lot of Muradin, a lot of Johanna, and a little bit of a Nubarak, if I'm not mistaken. I can't recall a Diablo off the top of my head. I'd have to skim through my notes a little deeper. Actually, they've played 3 Diablo games from the side of WildHeart Esports, all 3 of them victories, so this might be a little bit of a target onto Haben here, but of course, Justing, any thoughts on the draft as another target onto a tank priority?
Yeah, this is a large priority onto tanks here, with WildHeart having 3 of them picked and banned away now, with the Diablo being picked up, the Muradin, the Nubarak being banned away. Haben absolutely the focus of this draft so far for Chili Mountain. Diablo, Brightwing, very strong combo. We have the Medivh banned away, so there's not going to be any Medivh Diablo combos. But the percent healing from the Brightwing, as she's kind of the top priority support right now with the Diablo, feels just like a very, very oppressive combo.
I would absolutely agree. What do you think about these next 2 picks? We actually, this isn't really crazy. Chili Mountain ran this last weekend with the Tracer Dino.
Yeah.
Like, on Towers of Doom, yeah.
This is solid for a number of reasons. Hammer is a strong counter to Vikings and to Abathur. Vikings is a counter to Abathur. So now you've got your macro mechanic, you've got your Tezuka zone, if you guys have seen Prince of Tennis, like, I'm staying in this zone, I'm never going to move out of it, I'm going to make you move around me, and I'm going to defend from this area. That's Sergeant Hammer. Brightwing and Diablo are going to babysit. Dino is going to be probably Tracer. Hammer's a good starter, Tracer's a good finisher. They could have tried to go for Stitches. A lot of people see this, they're like, oh, Sergeant Hammer, Stitches, easy. She doesn't move, we hook, we kill her, we win. It's not that simple. You can go for the Unstoppable on 4 for Sergeant Hammer. You can block the hook. There's many problems with that, but this is a strong draft. WildHeart is going to have to macro out of their mind in order to counter what is being put up against them.
And we got the last pick, assuming a Tracer here for the side of Chili Mountain. What do you think about this draft here, Justing?
The Tracer's pretty surprising to me. That this is basically the exact same draft, right? Then that's strange that we see the Tracer again.
Week.
Yeah. The main thing that I want to note, I guess, is that the Chili Mountain's draft, really the important part here is the Vikings and the Hammer. This is something that we saw last week, and the other picks are kind of just there to slow down the rest of the game and to kind of just, I mean, you still have to play for team fights at some points, you still need to play for objectives, but those 3 picks can kind of be anything. The Vikings take control of basically all of the soak everywhere, especially mid and top. They disrupt the rotations of the enemy offlaner mid and top. So they create the situation where every objective that you're contesting is in exchange for either soak because of the Vikings or in exchange for push because the Hammer is going to be split pushing bottom quite a bit. So we'll see if WildHeart's able to deal with it. I think them getting the Chromie is at least a good start for them. It allows them to de-push bottom quite evenly in the 1v1. It allows them to have a chance in teamfights with the Johanna as well. So WildHeart not out of this, but we're going to see whether or not the Sergeant Hammer Vikings comp is beatable or not. We'll find out right now.
Well, thank you, Justin, for the analysis, the breakdown, and your thoughts as well, because we are here loaded on into map number 1, WildHeart in the blue, Ivy Tings on the Tychus, Weary Day on the Rhaegar, Zergling on the Blaze, and Mason Blaze on the Chromie, Haben to play the Johanna. Over on the side of the Gravekeeper, we've got Chili Mountain. That'll be Ultralisk on the Sergeant Hammer, Dequaz on the Lost Vikings, Dino on the Tracer, Banana on the Brightwing, Masquerade to play the Diablo. I did want to point out one thing here for you, Grubby. I caught this last night as I was editing the videos for yesterday's VODs. I was looking through Twitter, and apparently Zergling is on vacation. I don't know how he's playing, because apparently he's like on a beach, so I don't know if he like made a sandcastle computer or something, but we'll see if that affects things at all. That was one thing I just wanted to note at the start of this game.
Dude.
But the reality of the situation, I really, really like how Chili Mountain executed with this draft last week. I'm feeling like Chili Mountain can do it again. Dino last week got 3 games in a row on Tracer up against Simplicity and was a living nightmare for all of the Simplicity members, and I feel like he will continue to do that here. Want to get your thoughts, though, on the drafts or even what we could see here as a phase shift should save. No.
Yep.
It won't be canceled out. Nice.
Grenaded, I guess, by Ivy Tinks. He's going to be looking to do that a lot. Tychus has the bonus range on grenades, so he can step up quite a bit. Right wing will have to mind where she's standing when she wants to get the phase shift off. Now, this is a very forgiving composition generally, where you can save each other and whatnot. But phase shift was just used on, I believe, Tracer. But Diablo had no business being that far forward anymore. With Zerkling joining, that was the death deal for Diablo there. And yeah, Hammer's pretty much just been anchoring bot. Eric is there to interrupt Blaze from rotating freely. Olaf is holding mid. Baylok is top for the wave clear. Overall, it wasn't quite necessary for Chili Mountain to be that aggressive. Nice shot by WildHeart to get 1.25 kills. Every Viking counts as a quarter. And they actually have a bit of an experienced lead build up as well, though most of it is currently delayed inside this blue minion wave we're looking at. So it's less than it looks like.
Yeah, you still have Baylog in top lane who is clearing out a wave. Sergeant Hammer working on a wave. I do like how Sergeant Hammer is playing this in the bottom lane. She's not treading forward and just hitting the gate constantly. The Hammer player's letting the wave kind of push up a little bit so there's no mass rotation from the side of WildHeart for a gank. And it's just really, really good positioning. We are going to see that step up now, but that's mostly because there's a lot of vision on the map from Masquerade, from the minion wave, as we have Banana trying to interrupt the rotations.
So a lot of people think that Hammer can be a really weak pick into things like Li Ming, Stukov, especially Li Ming, Kel'Thuzad, Chromie, Stitches, and whatnot. And these are often counter picks against Hammer. I think the best picks are Stukov and Leoric. Li Ming, Chromie are fine. It somewhat reduces Hammer's ability to siege, but she's not super needing to. Plus, you'll be surprised to see how many mage combos you can survive with 50 armor on you. Ultralisk has been counterplaying Chromie a bit just by sieging, doing one auto attack splash shot and then unsieging. Once Chromie misses a shot, you can siege again for a couple of hits. Eric goes down the top lane because Tychus knew that Blaze will not be able to trigger the objective against Eric. And so we do see a lot of experience coming forward from WildHeart, how they are dealing with this composition so far. Just all the little annoying tricks that catch General Storm League opponents off guard. That's not happening here. Blaze joined for the first Sapper camp. We see Tychus going to top against Vikings because they know, hey, Eric is going to interrupt me. I'm never going to be able to channel this. So this is a nice job so far by WildHeart. They're showing good experience. Nonetheless, it's an ever uphill battle in terms of XP until you can definitively win several mid-game fights. Look at the XP. Despite the kills, you're still down in XP.
It's close, but those Vikings are going to start pulling ahead here with the engagement being delayed through bottom. And we have a lot of great delay tools as well. There was that dream shot picked up by Brightwing. We've got Eric running in to sacrifice himself. Now, these sacrificed Vikings, while yes, it is a quarter of a kill, it is going to benefit Tychus because Tychus will be able to finish out Master Assassin or at least build that up. And if he does finish it out, that is going to be a nice chunk, a nice extra 15% bonus attack speed. You already have the 10% on the passive, so it's just one of those things to also consider. Like if Tychus does farm off these Vikings a bit, he can actually get value a little bit faster than we typically see from that level 4.
Yep, that's true. That is that's pretty neat. So
I don't expect it, but it's just one of those things that I'm starting to kind of notice in Tychus killing the Viking over in top, Tychus killing the Viking over in bottom. So I wonder if IB Things might be making conscious effort in some of these moments to try and find these kills on the Vikings when it's possible.
I think you probably have to mostly ignore it. When you do the Eric play to get the interrupt, you're really doing that for half a level of XP lead, and that matters now and that can snowball. Whereas the Master Assassin could be finished in like 12 levels from now, or 9, and yeah, you really can't worry about that too much right now.
Yeah.
Olaf goes down. That is another Master Assassin stack, so I do like that you brought it up because it is something to keep in mind. It's really not too bad. If your base attack speed is 100% and Master Assassin brings you to 110, then the extra 15 will put you to 125, which is, of course, by that point, not a 15% increase anymore, but more like a 13% increase or something.
What a cleanse!
Another 13 based on what you already have, which, is still pretty solid. It's not too bad at all. And it will help in Odin and in base form.
Mm-hmm.
It may be game winning for all you know, but yeah, you can't worry about it too much. Now, double altar phase. Let's see if both teams can get one.
So it's also 10 talent tiers across the board. No falling sword for the Joanna, I want to point out. We do have temporal loop for the Chromie, since there's the AoE cleanse of Brightwing, so it's going to be interesting how that will be utilized. Maybe just watching for the temporal loop. We do have Masquerade finishing out, or at least full on souls. Blaze looking for the channel, but Olaf does get one interrupt, and Blaze will start to kind of float around looking to work on Eric. We have no one channeling bottom just yet as the stalemate continues. And we have that BFG was the level 10 for the hammer. I wonder if they try and angle it at Haben, but Haben is getting cooked up by the Diablo with the Lightning Breath. Masquerade so very low, should go down. That Soul's reset. Blaze still harassed by the Tracer and a Viking. Baylog in top lane still soaking. There's the temporal loop. Ultralisk is the target, and Weary Day gets the bite on... I guess he bites the tank, and it blows up.
Good dog. By chasing after cars. Now, Eric did channel the bottom objective during all this, and now Zergling gets the LD. So that's a 1-for-1 in altars. Double kill on Diablo and Hammer, yes. Still, the XP is even. And this is the rubber band effect of Vikings' very powerful XP clear. You're down 4 kills by now, according to the scoreboard, but still ahead in shots. So I would say this was generally quite an even game, and in order to make it even, WildHeart had to kill both Diablo and Sergeant Hammer.
Yep, Sergeant Hammer, 1 death. We've got 1.25 deaths on the Vikings, and we've got 2 on the Diablo. For anyone wondering what that breakdown does look like, and 1.25 meaning that is going to be 5 deaths for said Vikings. And the Hammer, with her Hover Siege mode, is now even more threatening. I mean, that was level 7, but we also have the BFG now for some burst ability. Surprised we didn't see that utilized in the last fight to try and take down Haben. I thought the BFG would be enough before the Ancestral did connect.
New Blessed Shield was available, so he had to use thrusters as well. May have a little 3-2-3 action happening right now. It looks like... I think probably there was a tropical wave that inundated the antenna on the island because Zergling's having a bit of a lag. Zergling being on vacation, which you mentioned, on some island and still bringing his get-up in order to be able to play HoTS. That's true esports passion, isn't it?
I need a... Just like when... what was it... a couple weeks ago, was it someone from Chili Mountain played on like a MacBook and like and a mouse like on a kitchen table or something like that? Yeah, like I want to see what Zergling's setup looks like at the end of today. If we can get someone from WildHeart, from the social media crew, to accrue that for us, please send it to the HeroesCCL family so we can actually take a look at that. But as Grubby mentioned, we have a small little DC at the time. We'll get that player back in here and we will continue with Towers of Doom. Overall, though, Grubby, it's still early.
Yeah, it's early days. It's pretty even game state. 32, 28 in HP. So let's talk again about tropical islands. Long time ago, I was like 5 years into my professional Warcraft 3 playing career. I switched to another team, and just when I joined the team, I really needed a vacation. I just joined a new team, and so I went on a vacation, but I was afraid that they would need me in the clan war, so I decided to bring my keyboard and mouse and everything to there. But they only had Wi-Fi, so yeah, I didn't end up actually playing because my connection was too bad. Luckily, Zergling says is good enough. That's why we're able to continue once again, and we're gonna see the rest of this game. As Ultralisk holds the fort, quite literally and metaphorically, there is an engage very far away from his hammer. That's not playing around hammer, man.
Hammer is gonna launch the BFG.
Interrupt on the phase shifter. Diablo never got the healing. Nice job by WildHeart. Very heads-up play.
Really like that. Thank you for noticing that, because I was like, I'm surprised that no big healing came through, but once again, I think it was as you had mentioned at the start of the game, IB Tings will be looking with that grenade to get the interrupt, but we also have Condemns from the Joanna. That is going to be another way to interrupt those potential phase shifts.
So, Banana Age already got cancelled a couple of times. It's a great job by IB Tings, but that means if you learn from it, you gotta stay really far back with Brightwing.
Yeah.
To the point where you can't even give the passive healing traits. Oh, nice unstoppable by Ultralisk. Only then could you save your Diablo. So when Diablo gets looped, Banana H needs to start floating backwards immediately. And then do the phase shift.
Well, Banana's getting low right here. Sergeant Hammer is trying to put in some pressure as we do have 13s apiece. Masquerade goes in with a Shadow Charge overpower. Zergling able to back away around 50%. Dayquaza will be interrupted once by the oils, or the Twin Flames of Blaze. Ultralisk was stopped for a second. The armor debuff is the level 4 or 2 for the Chromie. Pulse Bomb connects. Iron Skin will be utilized to mitigate the damage. Grenades continuing out from Tychus as we have Mason Blaze looking for the channel. Right Wing does have that Dream Shot. Masquerade has Fire Stomps. We actually have Dayquaza on the Viking below getting the interrupt with the Eric as the BFG comes through once again. That's the fight still continuing here, Grubby. It's such a long back and forth.
Yeah, really cool sustained battles, and that's why I like that mana is still a resource for most of the heroes in HoTS. A couple don't, like Tracer and Junkrat, and some people even wonder, should mana be a thing at all? In some MOBAs it's not. But I feel like it's a good thing because that's how you actually force these engagements to eventually end, these sustaining battles. Ultralisk, 60% mana, Masquerade full, Brightwing half. But on the side of WildHeart, they ran out of mana, they ran out of juice, their health pools were fine, but they recognized that they won't be able to cast enough ability as time went on, and they were forced to leave.
Oh, let's give let's get rid of everyone's mana. I mean, Samuro and Cho'Gall and Illidan, they don't need mana and they're fine. Look at them.
Most heroes that don't have mana pool are actually quite broken. Tracer, Junkrat, and I'm not talking, like, even the ones that don't have like a rage pool, but like, yeah, if you look at Hogger, Tracer, Junkrat,
yeah,
they're pretty strong. And Cho'Gall, one of the worst offenders, right?
Best.
2 heroes in 1 that don't have mana and broken as all heck. Illidan though, he used to be broken, not so much anymore, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, he's broken when you die 12 times, but you still carry your team to victory, am I right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could do that. It took a lot of counts with the immolation. You're welcome.
Yeah,
GM on
welcome.
my other account, by the way. But Chili Mountain is in a great spot. Using Eric there to get the interrupts, they got this objective. Now they're off to a half-level lead as well. And while we, the camera, of course, keep looking at the action, the real story is happening in the very hardworking, diligent middle lane and top lane. Nothing too exciting, but getting in that ankle grease as they run around and work those lanes.
Well, I think like a great example is that last objective phase. Single altar, bottom of the lane. We had Olaf and Baylog still just soaking mid and top consistently, and that's where the experience gap was starting to form. And of course, as you had mentioned, WildHeart lost a lot of mana and they gave up on that. But also, I think there was a consideration of, we're just losing experience to Vikings. You know, we're getting delayed out by Brightwing, Diablo, Sergeant Hammer. It's just not working out. So I do like that WildHeart did back off. They did manage to close the gap to 16 here. They are going to trade on these bell towers, and it'll be 4-4 in damage. Ironskin once again eating a pulse bomb from Dino. 24-24 in core HP as that is going to be the phase shift from Banana connecting on a Masquerade.
Whoa.
Temporal loop will be mitigated by the lightning breath, and that's Haben to go down by the lightning breath of said Masquerade.
Fantastic BFG, hitting 4 or even 5 heroes there, and Johanna coming right out of the bunker, nonetheless getting incinerated inside that armor. Imagine, metal armor, really good at stopping arrow bolts and stuff, a little bit less good against crossbow bolts, but a BFG and a lightning breath, you're gonna get cooked alive. The ancestral healing didn't come in time.
It's like the horrible moment when you use heat metal on the enemy in Dungeons and Dragons, and then, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like scalding alive inside the,
Exactly like that.
I accidentally did that, and I still feel bad about it to this day, even though he was the bad guy. Either way, we do continue to see a Viking fall. The bottom lane fort will fall as well. Ultralisk is just continuing to siege through this. And I'm actually curious really quickly what the siege damage and stuff like that looks like for these teams. Right now we have 106,000 roughly for the Sergeant Hammer. When it comes to experience gains, the Vikings have about 23,000. Blaze on the opposing side, about 14,000.
No, 50% more for Vikings, so that kind of checks out.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, it's a triple altar phase and an invade under the camp. I feel like the members of Chili Mountain might be able to turn this around here.
WildHeart is trying to get a 5-man fight because they can feel the writing on the wall. The writing on the wall says, we're going to get level 20 first. And WildHeart doesn't want that. So they want to get like 5-man fights before Storm Tier talents are unlocked. And even the invade there into the Sapper camp didn't work out. This does not bode well for WildHeart. Showing up in force against the Viking team should be a victory for them, because it's 5 versus 4 practically, with, little Eric not contributing too much. But that's not the case. Hammer sets up a great zone of influence. Damage as you come in, damage as you leave. And only during the short period that you stay can you interact and fight with her. During that time, there's Soul Shield Diablo, there's Brightwing's Phase Shift, Polymorph, Tracer shots. And before you know it, you gotta start leaving already with very little to show for it. This is a very strong draft that Chili Mountain has used numerous times. And it looks like they just have a stranglehold on the fight, on the control, on the macro. And WildHeart feels helpless.
It does feel that way at this point. It feels like WildHeart just can't step in, regardless of how they try, whether it be a full invade, as we just saw in the Sapper camp, or even just trying to clear this bottom lane. If the rotation was just slightly slower, I think Chili Mountain might have been able to force in a Sapper or two through that bottom lane. We don't see any Dino shenanigans. I wonder if WildHeart are a little bit kind of wise to it after that was utilized last weekend, and we literally highlighted it in a Kyle Ferguson video this past week. By the way, if you want to learn how to do Dino's Tracer, check out the HeroesCCL YouTube. Kyle Ferguson sat down with him this past week.
Just
casual plug.
It's all theory. Yeah, it's all theory, Tracer. It plays itself. You do have to keep pressing the reload hotkey to get more damage on level 7. But if you don't want to bother with that, you can just, deal less damage and pick another level 7.
I really need to try and practice that talent, because it's just daunting in a sense to try and, because there's so many things going on in Tracer, because you want to be constantly moving. There's a lot of just movement that you want. You can't stand still, obviously, not even in standard MOBA, even in the standard MOBA way. But as we take stock of everything on the map, it's 20 talent tier for the side of Chili Mountain. I don't know if WildHeart really steps into this with a talent tier disadvantage.
You can't. I think you're going to be down to 9. Boss would take you to 5. You would then need to take back bottom fort and win every single team fight. That's where WildHeart is at right now. It's lose, 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 and GG. Or lose, lose, win something, and then need to win and constantly fight against the mitigation effective Vikings, and just have 5 major triumphs in a row. That's how far WildHeart is away from winning right now.
Oh, this is a very hard spot to be in for the side of WildHeart, as I'm just looking at the encroaching Sapper camp through bottom lane. We will be seeing Tracer join in over here. Commandeer Odin is utilized to just try and clear things from afar, as Blaze does manage to kill another Viking. We do have a blink out from Banana, just trying to make sure that they're in a phase shiftable position. I'm just waiting to see what the engagement looks like, but it's overall just hold through bottom lane.
Holding the bottom fort, not super easy, but it wasn't Odin level 20 yet. Nice, unstoppable, and shifting away there from Ultralisk. He's going to siege up again. His thrusters cooldown is 7 seconds, 2 seconds, and available once again because of the auto attacks. There's a Lightning Breath. Tracer's going to go in, going to try to make a kill together with BFG as well, but Tychus goes away. She didn't have pulse rounds available, so she couldn't finish Tychus. Shadow Charge doesn't get the stun, but Polymorph with vulnerability is enough to finish Blaze off, as well as his compromised position.
I mean, Ultra Capacitors with a Giant Killer as well. That's just a rough go for anyone who's in Hammer's range with a decently sizable health pool. Double Ultra Phase coming up. It's looking like it could be over to Chili Mountain. We'll have to see how things do unfold. I was going to say maybe comms, but it feels like this is one of those moments where it's just Chili Mountain has a slow bleed.
Yeah, there's no point going to comms now. They're probably talking about favorite recipes, because this game has been played already. Completely chanceless. And what I like about this game, as we are in the 11th hour of it, is that both teams are really good. They have a 3-1 score. WildHeart is phenomenal, and they were completely chanceless and dominated here by Chili Mountain. This was truly a draft victory. Execution still matters, yes, but this was a GG by draft.
Yep, the draft was, as we said, it was the exact same against Simplicity last week on Towers of Doom. I think the only difference was Brightwing when Diablo were picked in the 1-2 rather than the 2-1, or however you want to do that. It's literally in the order. Same? It was yeah. I realized as I was saying, I was I hope Grubby doesn't catch what I accidentally said wrong. But what we have a person here who never says a single thing wrong, always has the correct answers, always knows everything about Heroes of Storm. We got Justin back in the mix to break down everything that was Towers of Doom.
Wow, thanks for gassing me up, Baha.
You're welcome.
That was thank you. So nothing can go wrong here for Chili Mountain. We see with their draft. The draft really feels completely broken. This on Towers of Doom, the Sergeant Hammer and the Vikings. It looks very similar to last week, where you're pretty much always on a timer at all points in the game if you're playing against this, no matter what you're doing, whether you're playing for objective, whether you're trying to push somewhere, no matter what you're doing, there's always a hammer trying to push in one of your lanes. There's always Vikings just passively soaking everything. So any time that you spend to stop a hammer push, the Vikings are getting soak. Anytime you spend to kill Vikings, the hammer is pushing bottom or pushing somewhere. And it kind of just creates this unwinnable situation unless you have very specific tools to deal with it. I think something like a Falstad with Gust, or maybe a Zeratul who can farm the Vikings and then do some Void Prisons in a team fight could help. And I don't think Chili Mountain's comp with the 3-man is that important. It really seems like the Vikings plus the Sergeant Hammer alone are kind of just so powerful on Towers of Doom that the rest doesn't really matter that much. Tracer isn't really the type of thing that you would normally want in the team fight with a Sergeant Hammer when you're playing for this slow, sustained, focused front-to-back style. So for them to be able to win the team fights the way that they are with the Tracer is really scary. I think that might partially be just sort of a showing of how strong Sergeant Hammer is, especially when you have things like Chromie that are supposed to be Sergeant Hammer counters. It really never felt like there was any opportunity to really focus the hammer. It's kind of too tall of an order to dive her, and she's got armor when you actually get to her. She's got the Unstoppable, she's got her thrusters, she can zoom away, she can knock you back. There's just so much to deal with. So I think that going forward, it did feel like a draft loss, and WildHeart held on for quite a while. But you get to a point where the Diablo is a little bit too tanky to just farm on the front line, and there's nothing else to really do in fights. The Tracer's a little bit too slippery with your team composition. It really doesn't feel winnable going up against this. We've seen it twice now. I think it's a very smart draft, but I think that since the rest of the picks don't seem to matter, I don't think that teams should be getting these two heroes, the Hammer and the Vikings, after the first ban phase ever again. I don't think that should be happening. I think teams should be pretty aware of this by now. And it's a strategy that just shouldn't be allowed. I think Vikings on Towers of Doom specifically, by itself, is already kind of too strong. So you add the Hammer into the mix, which also just seems kind of too strong in general right now. Just an insane team comp. So I'm expecting both of these heroes. This might not even be a Towers of Doom thing, though, either. I think we might see going forward both of them, Hammer and Vikings. They might just be OP. So I'm hoping to see more of it. Maybe played on different maps, played with different comps, stuff like that. Because I want to see how far these two heroes go.
Well, we do have, actually, our next map ready to go, and it is another map where we could actually see Vikings and Hammer. We're heading off to Sky Temple here, Grubby. A map that has an objective phase that arguably Justing hates the most, because you basically can just play the objective phase and win the game. Yeah,
Sky
I think we all share that sentiment.
Sky Temple is like 7 out of 10 Blackheart's Bay. It's channeling that Blackheart's Bay. You don't need to fight your opponent at all. We've seen the most 0 death games by level 20 on Sky Temple ever in CCL. We see a lot of like 3 death games. It's a map where you absolutely can fight. It can get a little crazy, but it's the one that rewards you the most for just hashtag playing the map and hard comeback mechanics. Sometimes we still see teams pick this on purpose because, you know, what's bad for you is also bad for your opponent. There's no such thing as a bad map when it comes to competition. If it was PvE, then yeah, sure, play on your favorite maps, kick AI buttocks. But in a PvP, you can use worse maps, or let's say unforgiving map mechanics, strong objectives. You can use them against your opponent. So expect a lot of macro mechanics here, such as good push heroes that can do pushes unaided by map objectives. So, for instance, Greymane and Anubarak. Expect a little bit less the mages, like Chromie and Gul'dan. You're not really going to see those here because they get flanked too easily. A lot of mobility-based heroes and good pushers and depushers.
Grubby, I have a very important question as we're getting into the ban phase. Were there any Warcraft 3 maps when you played where you're like, not that map. It has to be banned away. Like, was there ever a map like that for you, like Sky Temple, like how Justing had talked about yesterday?
Yeah, you know, in Warcraft 3, if there's a map with a lot of creeps, a large rush distance to the opponent, and small chokeholds, like bridges, that typically results in a similar game style where you cannot be aggressive because it's too far away. Bridges form a natural defensive point, and creeps everywhere, which is like mercamps in HoTS, offer viable alternatives to straight-on aggression, and it'll also result in long games with very few fights. And yeah, when you design a game, you don't immediately know all these things. These things emerge as the game goes on, and with active developer support, they can come out with other maps, which, granted, in HoTS is really harder than in some more simple games. But yeah, maybe one day we'll get Haunted Mines back with some changes. No copy.
I'm excited. I'm definitely excited about Stormgate. That's what I'll say about that one. I think we're all really excited about that one. But let's talk about this draft here, Justin, because we have got some really cool stuff so far with this Lucio first pick.
Yeah, so they ban away the Brightwing for Chili Mountain, knowing that their first pick and that Junkrat will be banned away. They get the Lucio, which is one of the two of the Lucio and the Junkrat that we see pretty much permanently banned from second pick. So good on Chili Mountain to be able to get that. And they also ban away the Brightwing, which has been kind of the second priority for support, and also pairs well with the Diablo. So if WildHeart wanted to go with a Diablo Brightwing, they are no longer able to. So smart drafting off the first bans for Chili Mountain. They also banned out the Muradin, so I'm expecting a pick ban onto Diablo here, most likely from Chili Mountain, either picking it or banning it in this rotation. So they do go the Tyrael. Tyrael Tracer is still super strong. We haven't seen too much of this, but the Tyrael playing the build that we saw Breeze playing yesterday, the sort of assassin damage-dealing Tyrael, is very, very strong with Tracer. Also, the percent of Tracer's HP that gets shielded is quite high because she has such a small HP pool, so it's a lot more effective shielding onto the Tracer. And you just have two heroes that are diving in together. Right now, Chili Mountain kind of has three heroes that are all just very, very sticky and annoying, very dive heavy, very difficult to run away from, and they're all enabled by the Lucio as well.
I have to say, out of all the players that we've seen Tyrael and CCL over the past 4 seasons thus far, Masquerade's one of the few that has really sold the Tyrael play to me. He's one of the few Tyrael players that we've had that can execute it well, and he also sometimes can play this Tyrael in a little bit of a supporting manner, kind of like ETC can be a support in a sense, where he can buff out allies, as Justin was already talking about, but there's some shielding stuff that you can take. Could see the speed build as well. But of course, Grubby, any thoughts on the draft? We're going to get 2 more from WildHeart.
Weary Day. Justin often says Weary Day's the best Uther in the CCL League. I love Uther on Sky Temple, especially with Abathur, and it may even be an Abathur draft. Abathur adds a little bit of that extra healing and carapace shielding, that sustain. And they've taken Sylvanas and Anubarak, who are really strong into Abathur because they can do pushes before Abba teams can really defend against it. I wonder if we do see that Abba coming out. I don't know their hero pool well enough. But either way, this is a great setup so far. With Hammer, I don't think you want to Ava anymore. You're going to get pushed too hard. We'll see.
Justin, any thoughts here from the drafts? Because we have got Chain CC up the wazoo from WildHeart and a terrifying draft from Chili Mountain, I'll say.
So WildHeart needs to be building this kind of death ball, juggernaut, sort of slow-moving amoeba thing that can kind of just slowly walk around, not allowing anyone to get close to them against what they have with the Lucio, the Tracer, and the Tyrael. Because they're very dive-heavy, but they're not very sustainy. They're not able to really play a strong front to back with those 3 heroes. The fact that they're able to pick a Hammer here in the last pick, and that's acceptable in the draft for Chili Mountain, I think kind of just touches on how broken Sergeant Hammer might be right now, because it does not fit the comp at all. The style of Lucio, Tracer, and Tyrael being these dive-heavy, really sticky, dive the backline heavy heroes, comboing that with Hogger, that all makes sense. But adding the Hammer to that really doesn't make sense. That's where things are kind of 2 very different styles of composition, where you have just straight dive, and then you have Sergeant Hammer.
To me, this is Sergeant Hammer always makes sense.
That might be the case. That's what I'm getting at, is Sergeant Hammer might be so OP that she might just be always the pick. The Cassia is pretty good for WildHeart to be able to at least put a bit of a damper on the dive heroes. But there's and the Anubarak to me is, I guess, the most strange pick from WildHeart. It does have CC, but the cooldowns are quite long. Typically you want to dive with him, and I don't think that WildHeart is going to be able to win fights by diving. Again, it is Sergeant Hammer, that's pretty impossible. But you do have Weary Day playing the Uther. We'll see whether it's potentially even a D-Storm. I don't expect it to be, but it might be, because you do have the point-and-click CC, and you need to just be layering CC onto the front line against the low HP pool dive heroes you have on Chili Mountain. It's just really weird drafts by both teams. I think this game I will be definitively calling whether or not Hammer is OP, because it really shouldn't work with the rest of the draft.
Well, we'll find out here as we've got WildHeart in the blue, Zergling on the Blaze, Mason Blaze on the Sylvanas, Haben on the Anubrak, Weary Day on the Uther, and IB Tings to be playing Cassia. On the side of Chili Mountain, got Dino on the Tracer, Banana on the Lucio, Ultralisk on Hammer, Masquerade on Tyrael, and Dequaz on the Hogger. I'm seeing a lot of, I got Dino Tracer, Banana Lucio, Ultralisk looked good on Hammer last game, and Masquerade, I mean, I already said it, he's a pretty freaking good Tyrael. I'm feeling a Chili Mountain win. I feel like this is one of those situations where I think you and Justin are completely correct here, Grubby, in the sense of Hammer just works everywhere, potentially. So
he's not sure yet. He thinks it doesn't work in this draft, but I feel like it is fantastic in this draft because Hammer's Hover Siege gives herself a 50% slow. But 100% movement speed is the baseline for everybody. Slows don't stack and movement speeds don't stack, but they do offset each other. Knowing that Hover Siege is a 50% slow, rather than actually baseline setting her movement at 50, means that any movement speed that you get is gonna be like a really big percentage of what you're getting. So when Tyrael gives her 40% movement speed, when Lucio gives her 40, she's back to like 90. That's almost like the normal movement speed while she's Hover Sieging. It's not like it's 40% on top of 50, which is 70%. 70% being 40% more than what she had. Normal people, he gives to them 40%, but that's actually like 80% movement speed on what she has at that moment with Hover Siege. So any speed increase on Hammer makes her so insane. It makes it so that she doesn't actually have that handicap where she can't catch up with a diving team when she gets the movement speed buff. Plus, Hammer is a fine solo laner, and when you ignore her, let's say that Blaze does bot lane, mid lane, duo laning, right? Hammer's not going to go mid lane, but she will take down a tower every time you leave. When someone else then goalies the middle lane to catch the XP that Blaze delivers, Hammer takes down the tower over and over and over. This is strong. Plus, Lucio and Tracer's extreme mobility slow down every would-be rotation on top of her. Otherwise, you might see Anubrak throw charge on Hammer, Uther walks up, Hammer of Justice, kill the Hammer, right? But Lucio and Tracer are going to control this map. I think this is a massive draft victory for Chili Mountain. I think they're going to own this game as well because Hammer's broken and the world is waking up to see it.
Well, she is going to be ripping and rolling through this bottom lane as Blaze was actually forced to hearth back by the Hogger, who did make the rotation, grabbing the Siege Giants. We do have our Temple phase active here, top and mid as the standard. Second objective phase is the bottom singular, and then third onward is where it randomizes. And there's what you're talking about. Look at bottom lane. Look at what Grubby was talking about, chat. See? Zergling Hearth's back, and we have a gate down.
even Sylvanas wouldn't do this kind of siege damage in a one-on-one. With the not taking the unstoppable now, Hammer has enough life sustain with the lifesteal to hit minion waves in between getting poked by the opponent to stay there practically indefinitely. Blaze is now not able to join the team, just like he wasn't really able to last game. If he did that last game, Vikings out-soaked him by 50% extra. And here, Hammer would kill forwards. There is a strong play by WildHeart, though, having Sylvanas. That is a marked improvement from what they had last game, because they can also do unaided siege pushes. And of course, this isn't unaided. There's a minion camp and a bruiser camp. With Black Arrow, they have a strong counterplay against what Hammer is also doing in the bottom lane. WildHeart will need to keep leveraging the Sylvanas push power while getting positive fighting traits in the mid lane and the top lane in order to inflict similar structural damage as what Chili Mountain is inflicting onto them.
I'm looking right now at the Hammer movement speed stat breakdown because I am curious to see how it all kind of like shifts around once we have Lucio enter into the mix, or even Tyrael buffing her out. But neither of them will come down to help out Ultralisk, so I can't check stats just yet. Mason Blaze will get caught out in the rotation, and that's first blood to the side of Chili Mountain.
I see Uther has all of his cooldown of heals available now, and he had full mana. But did he not heal Sylvanas because he couldn't find his keyboard? Or what? Did it literally just become available? Oh, they kill Lucio. They kill Lucio with Holy Shock, Holy Radiance, and Hammer of Justice. Counter kill happens.
Maybe that was the reasoning for it. I'm not 100% sure. No. But in bottom lane, this is going to be Hammer still doing Hammer things.
Yeah, Hammer attacking that bottom tower. One shot at a time.
Excuse me, sorry, I had to ride the mute button for a second. We're good, though. We have bottom lane altar coming up in a second or two, or at least the announcement. And mid lane's a sneeze away from going down. And bottom lane, it's one rotation out of the bottom area, and then Sergeant Hammer steps up again and takes that down. While there is already a structural lead, technically, for the side of WildHeart, it's very, very slim in this sense.
Well, they have more passive XP generation, right? But they have less HP total on their buildings. Oh, hey! Hammer kill.
Nice. Hammer will fall, and we've got Siege Giants through bottom lane. That mid lane fort did fall, though. Masquerade did confirm it. Periodic catapult pressure through mid and that passive experience gain. But here comes Sylvanas and the rest of WildHeart. They really want to open up bottom lane.
Yeah, this is where they are strongest. They managed to get the Hammer kill. We didn't exactly see how. Hammer doesn't have the unstoppable, of course. And there was no high five yet for Lucio. I wonder if he'll do sound barrier or high five. They're really getting the most out of it here. WildHeart, right before level 10s were reached for Chili Mountain. It's going to be the high five. They're pushing hard. I'd love to see it. Blaze is now doing the double laning. XP advantage here. Looks like it is time to disengage. This is all members of Chili Mountain. Is there still a shockwave? Yes, there is. Will Dayquaza get a big hit? He doesn't. Shockwave right through the center. Doesn't get any connections. Looks like WildHeart can disengage just fine.
So if Lucio amps it up next to Sergeant Hammer, she has 95% movement speed, according to the in-game stat. If anyone's wondering, yeah, I was looking at the numbers as well, as we have another initiation from WildHeart. That's some high fives out from Banana. Big spin from Hogger gets him into a better spot, but the ball lightning will go around, nicely spread to players who really aren't that low in HP. Hammer is going to siege back up once again. There's a lot of good poke out from Hogger as well with the easy throw dynamite and the level 4. Blanking on the name, or level 7, sorry, dense blasting powder.
The Banana H kind of scouting in that spot there. There's a cocoon on Hammer. Is there a high five? So what? Yep. That was really cool. Banana H gave a high five to Tyrael in order to make sure he's still unstoppable by the time he could high five Hammer. Otherwise, he would have been interrupted. So that's a really cool Lucio trick. Nonetheless, it wasn't enough to save Sergeant Hammer. And Chili Mountain will have to run with their tail between their legs. 2 Hammer deaths is a marked difference from last game, and it looks like WildHeart is able to crack this draft.
They have found the Achilles heel, maybe. Well, at least so far, it looks like there's at least a dent in the armor. They have found some sort of weakness, as the Sergeant Hammer will fall twice, and we get the shots out from the bottom lane objective into that mid lane fort. WildHeart really starting to open up the map. I had said earlier that it was Chili Mountain ahead, but now things have drastically swayed over to our blue side crew.
Yeah, 2 forts still alive. One, of course, with very little HP to its name, but that's still preventing catapult pressure and passive XP bonus generation. Chili Mountain has now lost a very important outer threshold from which they can stage their attacks. Something they always had on Towers of Doom for their Hammer, a fallback point to their bell towers, now no longer is available.
No invade under the camp. I thought with the 13 talent here we would be seeing that from WildHeart, but now it's Banana still chasing in, trying to put pressure onto Haben, who has dropped to about 50%, and the camps in top lane will meet. But as I mentioned, 13 talent here over to the side of WildHeart as it's 4-1 in kills.
4-1 in kills, pushing in with a Bruiser camp here as well, with Tracer stealing Siege camp. Why not just go for the boss? Doesn't he like doing that?
So that's exactly, I was looking at it, I threw it back to you and I was watching minimap and I was like, oh Dino, are you doing it? Are you going for the boss thing? Because they have eyes on the entire enemy crew pushing up in this top lane. They can count all 5 members of WildHeart up here. It's not like Dino is in threat to get ganked, but bottom lane, those Siege Giants will confirm the fort, so maybe that is the play from Dino. It's a shorter duration to get the 2 Siege Giants, it's a guaranteed fort, and Tracer can back away, knowing they at least take down the structure and try to find some parity structurally. 4-3 in structures, that top lane fort still up for WildHeart.
Okay, so Tracer got away.
Comms? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Let's go WildHeart.
In we go.
It's all 5 here though.
Slowly.
Yeah, slowly into Hammer. They got eye back. Are we playing bot or mid?
I go
I
bottom.
think we're better 5v5 if we don't like into Sank though.
Okay.
We are.
Maybe we don't want to
I think
walk
you guys
with
play
Hammer. Yeah, it's fine.
We do this.
Just
Hammer's
just
gonna see top though.
We just don't want them to push
top.
top.
Top, right?
Yeah, we're just scared of them pushing top.
Oh,
Hammer? If Hammer doesn't see some, just watch them. Don't go too hard.
The Tracer's top and Hogger's bottom. You guys have numbers,
Okay.
right? Just play.
We're
Just be
low
careful.
Ivy. Careful.
Yeah, I've speeded. I'm fine.
Yeah.
They can't really chase me too. Like, if I
Auger's
see
on the way
Tracer,
now.
I'm fine.
Hogger's on the way, guys. You guys need to back up
Okay.
soon.
Victor.
Careful, Hogger here. Yeah, Hogger here. Careful.
We're fine. Let's go.
Oh,
I'm gonna get
Nice.
next to
We stole shots. It's okay. Yeah.
Yep. We're trading shots.
16 is a huge spike for me, so.
Okay, that's AFK though, 16. Double glow. Nice.
just hold them off, yeah.
We'll keep an eye on boss.
They're gonna try to do this maybe.
They see
But
you.
yeah, they might.
Yeah, passing boss. We've camp.
Okay, I'm going now.
Walking down.
That's how easy camp, I guess.
I need a high five.
Missed that level.
Oh, maybe that. Oh, touch silence. Wait, Anu? Okay.
Look, Cassia.
I have. Oh,
Looking.
and spinning.
16.
Push. Defend bot.
Can we?
You guys can try. Running top.
I have 16 now.
No stand.
They have no silence arrow.
Leaving the comms from both the teams, swapping in between to hear from both sides in those moments. It really did seem like WildHeart was just... We heard a lot of what Justin had talked about in the playstyle from WildHeart, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. Chili Mountain... Do you get the feeling that Chili Mountain is just, like, running face first into full HP heroes? Like, it just, like, calling out names that are... Like, the Cassia was, like, full HP, mounted, running away. I'm like, why are they calling for Cassia? That's weird.
Yep. She was really far away, and also Tracer needed the high five, got it, barely survived. Then with 1% life, he went in to Pulse Bomb, a full HP, and Nubarak was like, Nubarak, like, bandwidth isn't there, right? Like, you can't get that in Nubarak. There's some kind of... This is a counterattack team that Chili Mountain has at this time. They've got mobility, so counterattacking is kind of cool, but yeah, you still need the shockwave. Still, if Hogger got a good spin and a good shockwave, maybe they do actually end up following up there. But it did sound a little bit more aimless. Let's see how this fight goes there. That's a big jet propulsion on two members there. There's a BFG that hits every single member of the team. There's shockwaves and Uther cannot get in the bunker. Zerkling has no health. The bunker gets popped. Zerkling runs away. The mobility now means that there can be such a big chase and no one gets away. 3 kills there. Yeah, just 2 members get away with their tail between their legs. Chili Mountain turned on the pain train, fighting over a siege camp, which admittedly did go to WildHeart. But that's exactly the kind of scrappy fight that Chili Mountain wanted. Little bit of distraction on a central point, big BFG value, sanctification, shockwave was really good, and Chili Mountain cleans up. This was the big turnaround that they needed. They had been slowly losing, bit by bit, this game so far, and now with a boss and a temple, this could be the beginning of the end. We could be in the 11th hour, Bahamut.
It could be the closing time for the members of WildHeart in this game. I'm just looking around the minimap and also keeping stock of where Ultralisk is at a lot of these times, because Boss plus Hammer, this is a guaranteed keep front gate, though Anubrak is trying to poke out a little bit. I say guaranteed. Actually, Anubrak goes out. The fight will continue on the bridge. Lucio with the high five. Cocoon on to Hammer.
Oh, doesn't have high five anymore. I think they're going to sacrifice her.
I think so too. There's no sanctification. It's on an 8-second cooldown, So I mean, but here's the trade. Hammer goes down, albeit a little far up in that bottom lane. This is Boss already on keep dealing significant damage. I'm looking right now, it's dropping to around 50%. We had shots out from Hogger. He almost gets the entire temple.
Yeah.
One shot before the 5 that you don't need to stand in the temple. 4, Dino gets the high 5, but still, we're getting significant siege in 2 lanes, and a Hammer goes down. As long as Chili Mountain doesn't lose another member here, this is a good moment. That was a great high 5 and a shockwave from Dequaza to be able to just make sure that no one can advance further. But they tag the camp, and WildHeart steps in.
Still want to actually commend WildHeart for the way that they salvaged this situation. Oh, there's a sanctification. Mason Blaze gets the D-shield to buy more time, but he's so low. Can he get away? Yes, with the wailing. I don't know who's going to win this, but Lucio already fell. It looks like WildHeart will actually come out on top in that fight. They did such a good job crawling back from what looked like an insurmountable position. They lost at the siege camp, boss and temple, took back 6 of the shots from the temple. After getting a kill on Sergeant Hammer, they got away from the boss a little bit too slowly. Nice cocoon there from Haben. Both keeps are saved as we see here, standing testimony to that statement. Then they go and steal the Bruiser camp. Now, without Lucio, they can go kill bottom keep. WildHeart getting the first keep is not what I expected, Bahamut.
I absolutely agree. I was watching the minimap while that entire engagement was happening, and I think there was a little bit of Chili Mountain saying if we delay them from backing around this camp, maybe we get the keep through the wave, because right now that keep sits at 2,241 HP. About 4-ish more catapult shots would have confirmed that keep. But we do have Sylvanas already pushing that out in bottom lane. We got Siege Giants cleared out by bottom from the Hammer. 20 talent here should be here in just a moment to both teams. Now, bottom is a better priority for the side of Chili Mountain, as the shots from bottom will confirm the bottom lane keep shooting there first and then move to mid lane. So bottom lane is where I would prioritize if I was the side of Chili Mountain. We'll see what they do here, as it's 20 up on both sides. A big fight, postured.
They definitely want that one in particular. As you said it, so it is. Nice get stuff there from Tracer on the Nubarak. Staying away with the blinks as well. He's very mindful that the Nubarak could throw down a cocoon, but he even seems to be doing it on purpose. Here's the high five to stop the stun train from a Nubarak. Rewind not activated because she's already out of range. This was Dino deliberately drawing cocoon, and Haven took the bait. 1-0 Dino. And now, without cocoon, they can move forward rather aggressively. Though I will say, Blaze is capturing bottom temple presently.
Big shockwave onto 3 members. Huge BFG.
Double
Divine Shield with the Bulwark of Light at level 20 is going to spread to many members. Weary Day low. The high five with the Mixing Fire will tap onto Weary Day as he tries to back away and does fall. With the Bulwark taken at level 20, that means no redemption, no respawn. Weary Day is going to fall. So will Mason. Blaze Zergling is looking a little low here. He's got no extra healing from the Ghost Uther. Banana, Masquerade, they want the kill, but this is going to be Tracer and the rest. They want to confirm the game. 4th kill over to the side of Chili Mountain, and it looks like at about 17 minutes into the game, Chili Mountain, will take map number 2. Good back and forth. The Hammer didn't look as impossible to play against as it did in map number 1 here, but still, the Hammer did look strong. We'll get Justin back in the mix in just a second to break things down from this game, but a very well played game from both sides. Chili Mountain coming out on top in 2 of the most critical fights at 12 minutes and 17, and will take map number 2. Sky Temple, GG, well played. Well, I don't think the Hammer was, as I was saying at the end, I don't think the Hammer was impossible to win against, but that Hammer did feel very difficult, Justin. It still felt like a bit of a bad time.
Yeah, especially considering how much value the Hammer was able to get in the very early game on Sky Temple, a map where usually there's no real way to get an advantage before the objectives. But Hammer, during the whole early objective phase, was still just doing what Hammers do best, and kind of just pushing down bottom and getting the majority of the bottom fort. The main thing that makes it so strong is just the amount of resources required to get the value that she gets is very low. It's just the lone Hammer doing her own thing in bot lane, and what WildHeart needed to do in order to match the amount of value that Hammer got was send 4 members bottom, get a pick on Hammer, and try to invade the siege, try to push the wall. They did that, they got the pick on Hammer, but it takes so many more resources to kill the Hammer than it takes for the Hammer to just exist, just pushing your buildings down. And they ended up only getting about 1 or 2 towers in bot lane, so they didn't get nearly as much as the Hammer was able to get on her own. So the hero does feel really strong, but in the team fights, it didn't feel super important. The BFG was the main contribution in actual team fights. It felt much more like Chili Mountain was playing the engage heavy, kind of run you down, Lucio turns your whole team into a bunch of Illidan's type feeling game, with the Tyrael and the Tracer chasing you down. WildHeart within a Nubarak, a very squishy tank into the composition that Chili Mountain had. So as soon as you fail your engage, if you don't have a good engage, like we saw at the very end there, they got pulled apart a bit thin. The cocoon gets baited. They have Lucio and Tracer who can kill the cocoon instantly if they're ever in range of it. So it's very difficult. As soon as you fail an engage for WildHeart, even though you have the Uther, you just get ran down, which is what we saw in their Siege Giants where they got invaded. It's what we saw in the last fight where Blaze was on bottom and they get engaged on by Hogger. The whole team can just run in from such a distance. It felt similar to playing against Illidan, where if you're too far forward on the map, it gives them so much room to chase. And in that case, if you're playing on the offensive like that, the Hammer with the thrusters running at you, pretty scary actually in a dive composition. But I think a lot of it does feel slightly like it's a draft issue in these games. I still think the hammer is just too much of a problem. The amount of value that she got on her own feels too much. And if you can just plug her into a dive composition and say that it's fine that you have a hammer that
yeah, right?
should be kind of crawling around in the backline needing a bunch of protection, if she doesn't need that protection, if she can just sprint at you with thrusters, hammer might just be a problem. So we'll see. I'm assuming that'll be banned, but Chili Mountain right now is definitely using it to great effect against WildHeart.
It's very interesting in our series, to say the least. I do have a very important question that's been kind of holding my brain away here. Right when we came back to 3-cam, did Springy trying to like get your attention or something like that? I saw one little paw come up.
Yeah, she was on my computer and she jumped up here and just put a single paw on my on my shirt.
These are the important questions I have to ask you after a game. But we are here in our first series of the day, and it is going to be Chili Mountain up in this best of 5. Of course, you got to win 3 games to win a series. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to take a short little break. In that break, I encourage you to hit !! prize pool. Get yourself over to the Match Arena, where you can check out said prize pool. Because of your generosity, your donations are at $10,624.44. I know we can push to 11,000. Thank you all so much for all of your support. When we come back, we are going to continue with this series. We'll find out, can WildHeart Esports find a way to defeat this hammer composition, or will Chili Mountain shut things out in a 3-0? Don't go anywhere. This is HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom. I'm still Bahamut, still joined by Grubby and Justing, and we, as I mentioned, we're in the midst of our first best of 5 of the day, the 3rd series of our week 5 action. And as always, what'd you guys get up to in the break, Grubby? What about you? What'd you do?
Okay, can I just say, every time our production says mics are hot, seconds before we come back into the live segment, which we're in now, it means that the microphones can pick up our sound. Am I the only one that keeps thinking about mic is hot like Magic Mike?
I always think about how my microphone is physically hot. But no, I was not thinking about Magic Mike, but now
you will.
Now I will be thinking about Magic Mike every time we come back from break. Justin, were you thinking about Magic Mike in your break?
I was thinking about the Springy that's giving me the wild cat eyes as she runs around the room. She's possessed or something.
Would you say that her behavior was giving you pause?
Yeah, good one, Grubby. Technically, yes. I would say that.
Let's go take a look at the map. Let's take a look and see where we're going to for map number 3. In our first best of 5 of the day, we've got WildHeart choosing map pick priority and choosing to take us to Battlefield of Eternity as the losing team. Stats for anyone wondering about this team, these teams on this map. WildHeart Esports have a 1-0 record on Battlefield of Eternity. The members of Chili Mountain a 1-0 record as well. Justing, thoughts on Battlefield? Will we see another Sergeant Hammer?
I really hope not for the side of WildHeart. It feels like they've lost the last 2 drafts, and there's a pretty easy fix for them. They need to ban Sergeant Hammer. Or pick Sergeant Hammer. I think that would also work, but right now the amount of value that the hero is getting on her own with no other help from anyone else seems just a little bit too ridiculous. And WildHeart has looked pretty good in the 4v4s and in the 5v5s. This is a map that lends really well to that. So hopefully WildHeart can start to mount the comeback for a reverse sweep here. If they're able to get their good 4v4s and 5v5s going, that is kind of where they thrive as a team.
Yeah.
And as long as they can ban the hammer, I think they're in a good spot.
I'm wondering, we've already had one reverse sweep this weekend. What if there's something in the water? What if we get another one? I definitely think it's possible. I mean, yesterday, a singular hero starting to be banned out in yesterday's matchups was actually the kind of pinnacle moment in that reverse sweep switch. So I'm excited to see how this all kind of works out for Battlefield of Eternity. As we have loaded on into the draft, Grubby, want to get your thoughts as well as maybe what we could see ban-wise, picks, or even play.
We haven't seen a lot of Hammer here. You mentioned that sometimes in the past we saw Hammer in competitive games on Battlefield.
That ain't happening.
And I wonder if maybe we could see it here. All right, that just answers that. That little break did WildHeart a lot of good. They had some soul searching and they said, do we find it within ourselves to have a Sergeant Hammer counter? And oh look, let's just take care of both of those issues. But that does leave Junkrat open.
Yes. It also leaves Sylvanas open, which apparently that's what they want. Justin, let me ask you this. Junkrat, he's such a terrifying character. Is Battlefield a good map for him? Because Battlefield, I feel like you want sustained racing damage. Yes, Junkrat does have good damage. It splashes, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like he's not like our racer. He's not a Greymane. He's not a Volley. He's not a Lunara or anything else like that. Is he worth going for, I think, is really the question I pose to you.
He's definitely still strong, but not nearly as much value here as he would be on like Infernal Shrines or a lot of the maps where it's a lot more obvious where you're going to be fighting, especially when things are still available that can kind of counter his traps. Like they've already picked up the Urel just in case, so they don't really. Chili Mountain already has an answer to the traps with being able to cleanse them with the Urel level 4. It is still weird to not see it picked up, especially the Brightwing was not picked up either. With the Lucio being banned out, WildHeart has an opportunity now to try to potentially look for a support choke. They have Brightwing and Rhaegar as kind of the two main ones. Anduin is banned away, so there's not going to be a full support choke unless we see some weird double support shenanigans coming out from WildHeart. If Chili Mountain bans a support here, that would be super weird. I think they're going to be really happy to trade the Brightwing and the... oh my god, my brain just broke. There's the Brightwing, so super weird.
Yeah,
they're still committing to this.
Do you think they should ban
Rhaegar is still available.
Tychus instead, or Hanzo or something? They should have instead of Brightwing ban like a Hanzo or what?
Yeah, well, they had the option to trade the Rhaegar and the Brightwing, which has been kind of the norm. Unless WildHeart does something super weird now, it's just strange to see Chili Mountain ban that out. It sort of feels like they're banning it out from themselves. They really don't want the Brightwing and the Diablo paired together. I think that's the main thing. And WildHeart, they don't even take it, so it's just really weird drafts. They're getting the Rhaegar back on Chili Mountain after banning 2 supports, WildHeart banning a support. This just all feels very, very strange.
Maybe no supports at all. That's it. No supports.
It's looking that way with the bans and the picks. If they don't take Rhaegar here, then pretty much everything that we've been seeing in the drafts is just completely different between these two teams.
It's a new form of Juice Pirates. Actually, I do love this a lot here, Justin, coming out from Chili Mountain. I really like it. Is 2 bruisers, main tank, hypercarry Sylvanas, but this Kharazim, I love this Kharazim. I wish we had more of him in CCL.
Yeah, it's a difficult spot to play it though, because WildHeart, well, they do get their support here as their last pick, most likely, assuming that they're playing the same game as everyone else. We're expecting to see a support. They do have this very deathball-y poke composition with the Hanzo and the Li Ming, kind of the supreme poke heroes. And now that they have the Uther picked up by Weary Day, D-Shield is very good against what Chili Mountain has drafted. Chili Mountain has a very mobile, dive-focused, kind of just one-shot, one-target type of composition. They potentially can go into the mind control with the 7-sided strike, which is something that we saw paired together quite a bit in the last seasons. They also have Murden, Urel, Sylvanas, and literally all 5 members from Chili Mountain can jump on you in an instant. All of them have mobility. I'm curious to see what ultimate we see from Imperius. In competitive, it feels like the Kidnap might do a little bit more, just because it does something that's not super selfish, whereas the Shield is kind of, it feels a little bit more almost like a solo queue thing, because it's very selfish. It doesn't provide anything to the team, really. It's mostly just for yourself. And while that does help you survive, it doesn't really provide anything in a 5v5 in competitive. WildHeart has a poke comp, Chili Mountain has a dive comp, so it's cool to see that we're going to have very, very polarizing styles from these two teams, and we'll see which one actually works out better. WildHeart does have a lot of good tools to deal with Chili Mountain. They have the bunker, they have the Uther, and they have the range advantage with the Hanzo and Li Ming. But Diablo might really, really struggle here, especially if he's not perfectly on the same page with his saves, into things like Imperius with the percent damage, into things like Monk with the 7-sided strike. This is going to be, and percent damage level 1 from Sylvanas, this is going to be a very difficult game to be a Diablo.
Well, let's see if WildHeart can rally here. Backed by the side of the Heavens, Alarian, we will be having Weary Day on the Uther, Ibitings on the Hanzo, Zergling on the Blaze, Mason Blaze to play the Li Ming, and Haben on the Diablo. Over on the right, backed by Belith and the Hellish Horde army, we've got the members of Chili Mountain. We got Dyna on the Sylvanas, Banana on the Kharazim, Dequaz on the Urel, Ultralisk on the Imperius, Masquerade on the Murden. I'm, you know me, Grubby. I like as much Heroes of Storm as we possibly can get any weekend, any day. But I do feel like this is a Chili Mountain 3-0. I don't like calling 3-0s, but I feel like Chili Mountain can shut this down with the draft they have. What are you thinking here?
I'm thinking Diablo will feel a bit like an island, like Justin also mentioned about. He's kind of the only front line with a 0 CC backline. And while Uther seems like a good call into a hard engaged melee team, I don't think he's gonna go D-Storm, so in that sense he doesn't punish with his CC the front line. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. He nearly went down. Masquerade gets away with about 300 health. Uther, and again, oh my god, he got 48 stacks. So the way that this talent works is every tick of damage you take while you healed that person and they have the armor trait gives you 1 stack. 80 stacks means that you can holy shock enemies to gain 5 mana while you're healing yourself and damaging them. You also get range, mana reduction, right? So yeah, that's pretty good. He did then go down. I was actually thinking it was going to be Deckard in that final slot. What that would do is some ranged, massive slows via Sapphire that are not easily removed until level 16 Kharazim Radiant Dash, Cleansing Fist. And he would also have the Triangle and the Stay Around Listen. All really, really strong. Only really Wailing Arrow could stop him out of that combo. And, you know, maybe that's why he didn't. And Uther is fantastic too. I thought it was going to be Deckard. A little bit of extra CC to help save Diablo there. But obviously Uther, very good choice here as well, because there's virtually no poke for Chili Mountain. This is when Uther shines the most. I'm going to go out and go on a limb and say we've got a game 4 coming behind. I think WildHeart can do this one.
I hope I'm wrong, honestly. As I said, more games are always good, but we'll see what actually does happen here. We did have 1 kill to the side of Chili Mountain in that Uther earlier. Got a little bit of an experience advantage to the side of Chili Mountain, and I'm looking to see where that's really coming from, and it seems like it's mostly just from that heroic kill and the mercenaries being nearly about 900 extra experience for that. But here comes the Celestial Charge from the Shadow. Zergling tries to jump Repulsion away, but can't get away because Dayquaza's big body on that Urella's in said way. Doesn't work out for either side. Zergling can't really find any major damage, and Dayquaza and friends cannot get a kill. But there, at level 4, is some big pickups here. We've got the Earth Ally for the Kharazim, Possession for the Sylvanas, as Justin mentioned, that Hand of Freedom, but the big thing, in my opinion, Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer getting that extra damage into non-heroic targets gives Muradin a little bit of siege, obviously, into structures, but also race potential into the objective, especially at level 10 with the cooldown reduction that you get from your Stormbolt auto attacks. That is going to be increasing just that Sledgehammer value. It's a talent that I like quite a bit. I've found myself doing more Reverberation lately just because of how much value you get with the avatar, but we'll see what Masquerade is able to do with this as we continue looking at both sides' talent pickups, and it is Arcane Orb for Li Ming at level 4.
Umberet, nice CDR and mana sustain. Easy to hit the Immortal as well as any tanks that are trying to block those shots. Hanzo and Li Ming easily won the race. They're gonna go for Diablo. Wow, nice heal from Firestop. He's got 42 spell armor as well. Now there's the turnaround. Watch Mason Blaze firing over the wall and Ivy Tinks shooting freely as well. They can go for the Immortal. They can go get the kills. Muradin's a good choice here. He can block some shots and then heal up with that second wind. But this is why Li Ming and Hanzo are good on this map. They can get the poke damage in even against a large team of defenders. That is a full surround on Blaze, though.
Yeah, he can't get out of that, and we will be seeing a pause really quickly, so we'll bring it back to our lovely faces, as it looks like there's a crab on the beach that is currently biting or pincing the toes of Zergling, so he's got to take care of a couple crustaceans, and then he'll be able to get back onto his PC as he is playing from apparently a beach. But either way, we are here, and that is actually, just as we went to the pause, the Immortal going over to the side of WildHeart Esports. And I'm actually just going to quickly look here. It looks like top lane took a little bit of damage, bottom lane more, so it is going to be the Immortal going to top lane for the side of WildHeart. We'll see how they split, as there's no camps to be grabbed. But an early Immortal for WildHeart, that seems kind of promising, though when we take stock of the drafts, like, don't really expect Chili Mountain to win out a race against WildHeart here. Yeah, that's an important thing to mention. Most people in Storm League typically overcompensate for the objective on this map, taking unmeta talents like Seeker and Glass Cannon and, you know, picking all the racing heroes like Artanis and Valakyu, and sometimes not enough of the resource budget
is left into abilities that make you a better team fighter. More rare to see people go for the Maiev, the Alarak, the Garrosh. Heroes that can manipulate your position, do good defense, throw you into stuns and whatnot. And that's basically what Chili Mountain is here. Yes, they have race via Karazim and Sylvanas in particular, but they are mostly goalkeepers here. They aim to do the defense, get the team kills, kill enough heroes to buy space so that they don't get outraced, then we'll try to start to win the objective. So this is within the expected parameters that WildHeart wins the first race.
Yeah. It's like my friend used to say to me when we would play games together, when we'd be drafting, I'd always be like, oh, we got to consider the race. And he's like, but what if we kill the enemy team and then we race the Immortal? I'm like, ooh, that's big braining out there.
Yeah,
different way to play the map.
That's some Starship Troopers logic. Like, why should we learn to race? The enemy can't race when you disable their hand.
Yeah, easy enough. The Immortal is going to find some damage onto the fort up here. Jet Propulsion from Zergling will set up a kill. That is going to be a double kill for WildHeart Esports. And I think with the Immortal just now falling, and with the positioning, WildHeart does get a fort through top. This is big, Grubby, especially for the team that doesn't have the Sylvanas.
Yeah, a full fort for the first is absolutely amazing. Circling coming here and Yrel not. The Blaze advantage, that secured the kill there on Muradin. That created enough space. And yeah, that altogether, keep in mind, if you're not a particularly good racer, you're also not a particularly good deep pusher. Chili Mountain doesn't have a lot of damage on that Immortal, especially since most of them are melee. When they're melee, they're going to be fighting in oil. That slows their attack speed, that slows their movement speed. They're going to get free shots non-stop from Triumvirate and Scatter Arrow. And throughout all that, they need to hit the Immortal. Chili Mountain will continue to lose automatically, except when they can get really creative things done. This is why I'm generally betting against them this game, because the burden of execution is on them big time.
And it's a high burden of execution too, and I think we're seeing it consistently in these fights. The Soul Shield and the way that Diablo is being played right now is great. We saw a dive potential onto Diablo earlier, and it seemingly it was like Cattle yesterday, where he was dancing within the Dragon Strikes of Hanzo, barely losing any HP. And we kind of see it right there as the Jet Propulsion comes in from Zergling. And he pops the Pyromania a little slow, just a little worried. That is an 80-second cooldown that he will have to wait through. Actually, it's a 90-second cooldown. My apologies.
But it's is it reducible in some way by getting globes?
Regeneration globes when you take the new habits at level 1.
But he doesn't, so now each hero hit by Flame Stream reduces Pyromania's cooldown by 4 seconds. Okay, and you can double hit sometimes, so you gotta spam that Q.
Alright, so 10s apiece. Divine Shield, Big Arrow, Lightning Breath, Wave of Force, Bunker for Blaze, 7-sided as predicted, Wailing Arrow. There's the spears. A Wailing Arrow from Sylvanas. We do have a huge arrow from Hanzo, locking people down for a second. There's a Shadow Charge from Haben, Masquerades the target. Angelic Armament will be utilized by Ultralisk, and that's Diablo to go down. He will be falling. Angelic Armament re-triggered, doesn't get the hit onto Zergling. I do like the way that Chili Mountain played that, but Diablo, he respawns, and Muradin has to take care of bottom. Sylvanas and friends want to find some value in top really quickly.
There isn't a lot of time. Everyone is coming here already. That's a big Jet Propulsion. There's a Hammer of Justice. Ultralisk going down. Imperius trying to run away, and it looks like he almost might. He gets a heal, but it's not enough. And Lightning Breath. Everyone was already gone. He was waiting with Bated Breath in order to get that spell down, but it was already not necessary anymore. Throughout all that, though, with Haben having died, he's got that immortal trait, Diablo, as he was able to come back with those souls, with 27 souls, in fact. Bit of a hack there, since Firestomp was still returning to his no longer existing body.
And he only consumed 75 because of that new addition to his Black Soulstone trait post level 10, as that's a Jet Propulsion from Blaze onto Muradin, Dequaza. Dino and friends are looking to chase in, but Haben's not really taking a lot of damage. Ting sets up another huge arrow here. Righteous Hammer from Yrel, bopping the enemy around as Alarian is going to be spawning in the bottom lane with a massive shield. I'm actually going to try and check him really quickly and see how much damage this big boy is doing in the bottom lane. It's going to be 1,284 damage into structures. He's got 33,000 HP, and that does include that shielding. 17,000 baseline.
That is a lot. By virtue of getting the full HP trade, nearly the full HP, WildHeart is performing exactly like how I would expect at this point. They have solved the 7-sided Burn the Impure problem on Diablo by going with Uther and Divine Shield, something that Deckard couldn't have done. Uther the more defensive version, Deckard a bit more aggressive. Darkling misses his engage there. And look at that, flank from Imperius. Yep. This is Chili Mountain's gambit to try and take an aggressive approach. They're going to ignore the Immortal and have Imperius come in, but Firestomp has revealed his position. This forces his hand. He goes in, Imperius gets stopped by Haven. He's going to try to get an engage on some of the backline, but now it's him they're turning around on. Lightning Breath. This angel, this fallen angel is getting cooked alive. Arrow, insult to injury. Nice scatter on Banana. And meanwhile, the Immortal has gotten 70% of the keep.
Dequaz is mounted with the Divine Steed, looking to maybe chase in. No, he's just going to be rotating for a camp in top lane. This is looking great to the side of WildHeart in map number 2. They're looking like a team that could take us to that 4th map, as Grubby had mentioned at the start. But still, the execution needs to be had. Could see a turnaround from Dequaz and crew. Maybe 13s will be a talent tier spike that could maybe give them some new utilization or new tools, especially Masquerade with the Bronzebeard Rage will be huge for the Muradin. That's the big one right there. There's a stun going to be going on to Yrel. Might have been a Hand of Freedom. Righteous Hammer bopping people around. Haven split from the team. 7-sided strike will be coming out. Sharing the pain is WildHeart, having a couple other members step in. Li Ming keeps dropping in Arcane Orbs, which is kind of forcing people back. But meanwhile, in top lane, Dino has split, has found the fort, and continues to press the lane. Dequaza, though, chases in here with that Hand of Freedom with that movement speed.
Typical Dino, isn't it? Do you remember how healthy that fort was? I can actually check, I guess, on the live right now. It was 80% health. Dino got that. Even though they lost 80% of their keep and are losing even more to the Khazra Impaler camp, Dino did get an 80% fort during all that. That is extremely helpful.
Yes.
Power of Sylvanas and his trust in his teammates that they could protect the keep and try to keep that alive has now seen Chili Mountain have a little bit more catapult pressure, kind of evening the scales, and also an easier win condition via top. Next time Chili Mountain could get a teamfight victory, they can go straight to top with Sylvanas and get the keep. After that, it's game-ending threats.
And Chili Mountain want to burn the first half of the Immortal as quickly as they possibly can, but they get maybe a quarter. Haben is going to be able to Shadow Charge away on a minion to be able to get away from the 7-sided strike that's on a 41-second cooldown. Everything else, actually Muradin's about to get Avatar in 10 seconds. So on the side of WildHeart, though, they are ready to go with all of their heroics. It's just who makes the initiation.
They know 7-sided strike is out, so Haben can be a little bit more comfortable, but Ultralisk remains a big threat with his Imperius.
There's the Righteous Hammer. Here comes Banana diving in and diving around. That's a block totem down the Earth Ally. Masquerade trying to Dwarf Toss away as we have the Immortal phase being raced between both these teams. And dear Lord, the race you just saw from the side of WildHeart, they just chunk into this. About a 3,000 health difference on these two Immortals. 3,500 or so.
WildHeart won the race despite being down 20 to 30% progress, but now it's very aggressively positioned. And because Fallen Bruiser was responded to, Chili Mountain gets the initial initiative on top of this Immortal. Is Yrel going to be fine? Yes, she has Ardent Defender still.
Probably had Hand of Freedom as well. She's got that Divine Steed. We are 13s apiece for levels. That's a Zergling Jet Propulsion.
Wow.
Good night, Imperius. The sidestep to the arrow, and now it's Chili Mountain. They got to back away, or they got to go for some sort of desperate fight.
With Imperius dead, they're still going to try and make their defense. I feel like this might be a mistake. He seems rather important, and yet they're going to try. They burn a 2-minute cooldown, seeing nothing really for their efforts. Chili Mountain's strange semi-defense, throwing good money after bad. For WildHeart, they saw a lovely chance to one-shot Imperius, who was scouting around that top bush. They got the jet propulsion in. Li Ming and Hanzo didn't fail the follow-up. Now they're going to go for the bottom keep, because they know the other team is going to be out of position. This keep was weak enough. They could threaten core, or they could circle the very long way around to go to the top keep. This seems like the play with better initiative. They go for core. No real intent to finish the core. Kind of like Granite Gaming yesterday on Sky Temple, the 7-second core attack. But without the tornadoes, they're actually allowed to leave.
Yeah, that was what I was giggling at right there. I'm taking a look at minimap and I'm trying to think if we jump into comms, but it seems like WildHeart, they're not going to be doing anything like crazy right now. They're just going to be grabbing a camp and they're just playing the map. I do like that they, the members of WildHeart, were able to confirm the bottom lane keep, meaning consistent catapult pressure through the bottom lane with no periodic or catapults to match from the side of Chili Mountain, as that fort still remains in bottom lane. And it looks like Chili Mountain will trade the top camp for a bottom. WildHeart Esports making a big rotation, but I don't know if they'll make it down here in time to invade.
Doesn't look like it at this time. Chili Mountain gets a camp for a camp. Chili Mountain under more structural pressure. I'm surprised they step up here rather than defending. Maybe they want to do the unexpected thing. Never let your opponent know your next move. They're going to have their top keeper exposed even as the fight breaks out. Avatar Murden. Murden jumps away with 116 health. Chili Mountain trying to get away there. Nice unstoppables. They're going to try to defend their top keep. They got away very, very, very closely there. That was really scary, Bahamut.
When you look at the two teams in a fight, it feels like Chili Mountain... you know, let's quote everyone's favorite Storm League loss quote, no damage. It really does feel like Chili Mountain has no damage in some of these fights. Like I look at the blue health bars. I look at the blue health bars and they're really not dropping down that low, and it's not like, oh, it's all just Uther. Like it really does feel like WildHeart has a draft that Chili Mountain can't step into or play against. I'm finding it hard for Chili Mountain to rally back. Yes, they've kind of slowed the bleeding a little bit. You know, they've got a tourniquet on the open wound, but it still is just, it's gushing blood right now. Chili Mountain, they're losing blood quickly in this map.
Yep.
Oh wait, hold on, 7-sided Zergling, able to back away.
Lens from Weary Day, Hand of Protection, 90-second cooldown, needs some auto attacks to get it back. He's not doing it, he wants to stay mounted. There we go. He Holy Radianced it, the 3 minions, okay. And now WildHeart is going to start their race. Ivy Tinks with the Scatter Arrow, Mason Blaze with the big mirror balls. Over and over and over, we see WildHeart resisting the initial attack by Chili Mountain, shrugging it off, getting double stunned by the boss under no pressure at all. But yeah, there's the spray to recognize, yes, that was a funny mistake. 50% race. WildHeart getting so close to a game-ending push.
This Immortal would go top lane. The Immortals will go to defensive positioning, so the WildHeart Immortal closer to the WildHeart side of the map, respectively to Chili Mountain as well. Now, we continue to look at the posturing for all of this. Dequaza looking for a flank right here. I feel like this is the moment where Chili Mountain has to make a play. If it doesn't work out, it's Immortal grabbed to the side of WildHeart, and it ends game through top.
Yeah, that could definitely happen if it's 100%. Mason Blaze now with the race. Look at this. Like, Sylvanas is protecting bot. Just wants to take down a couple of catapults or something. He stole a catapult with his level 4, and that's about that. Chili Mountain has to make a play now. Masquerade has been spotted. Imperious, Ultralisk, trying to go for the deep flank from the top. Mason Blaze sees them, blinks away. Big jump in. That's a hammer onto Weary Day, but no follow-up possible. Yrel gets deleted!
Why are they doing two different things on the side of Chili Mountain?
I don't know.
Literally, Banana, like Yrel and Kerzim are fighting, and Masquerade and 2 others are starting to race the Immortal. Like, yeah, that made no sense to me.
That was a weird banana split, wasn't it? So, again, running away with 100 life. Not so fast, says Diablo, going in with the lightning breath there. But yeah, Chili Mountain needed to make something happen. We always knew the burden of execution is going to be on them, and this time they were unable to execute. 2-0 lead, but now here with the original We Can't Race draft, trying to force fights. WildHeart was able to shrug it off with 2 very tanky frontliners. Some great Weary Day protectionism, and then Ivy Tinks and Mason Blaze going in with the big double race damage. Immortal is big. Yep. What?
What if Dino and Banana endgame through top, and Yrel just delays out long enough? Because I don't think so. Like if maybe this happened like 20 seconds faster, maybe it could have been done. But this will be WildHeart taking map number 3. No 3-0. Hey, we got 4% off the core over the side of WildHeart Esports, but still, Chili Mountain will fall. GG's.
Game number 4 is coming.
I undersold, even to myself, I undersold the value of Chili Mountain's draft. I really did think that they were going to kind of 1-2 punch, just burn down these characters on the side of WildHeart. But Chili Mountain, as I said, Justing, in the game, it kind of felt like no damage. Like, obviously they had damage, but it didn't feel like they had effective damage to really get a kill.
Yeah, they really didn't feel like they had enough damage. The Murden in the composition especially, I don't really feel fits after watching the game play out. The Imperius also, with the E at level 7, I want to be a bit critical of. The damage, the Q talents that you can take on Imperius outside of level 1% damage is correct, but it was lacking in damage, and BOE is not a map where you need the wave clear. So going the E, I felt was a little strange, not going with the Q talents beyond the level 7. And also not being able to get to the late game, because it is BOE, you're not guaranteed level 20s on this map. If they're able to play this on a map where they're guaranteed level 20s, then suddenly the Imperius with the attack speed at level 20 becomes really strong and they start getting damage. But until then, things were definitely a bit rough for Chili Mountain. They weren't at the objectives first for the first 2 objectives, and when you're the composition that doesn't have the option to poke, doesn't have the option to burn, you need to be there first, and Chili Mountain wasn't there first for the first 2 objectives, so they're nearly given away for free to WildHeart. You touched on it in the game, the burden of execution entirely on Chili Mountain with this draft, and all it really felt like it took was 1 cleanse from Weary Day, or 1 D-shield onto the Diablo, onto Haben, to be able to save him in these fights. And as soon as they use all of those resources trying to get that kill onto the front line, it's just the team fight's over basically for Chili Mountain. They're gonna lose the sustaining fight against the poke from WildHeart. The composition was just much easier to play, and they played around the objective a lot better with it. Chili Mountain had 2 all-in of a composition on diving past, fighting past, and if they're not there waiting for the Immortal before it even spawns, they don't stand a chance, and they were only there for the 3rd one. The 3rd objective was the first time that Chili Mountain got there first, and they kind of need to always be there first, so... And then even then, they still didn't win the fight. We saw the weird disjointed thing at the end with where Bananas split alongside Dequaza, and they just get caught on the Immortal when they're kind of in like a 2-3, not in quite the right spots, and you could tell it was just a lot easier of a composition to play for WildHeart. They had their big change in the draft. They banned Hammer. That seemed pretty good for WildHeart. We did hear in the comms in the previous game, it didn't feel like the comms of WildHeart were losing team comms, and it didn't feel like the comms of Chili Mountain were really winning team comms.
Yeah.
So maybe it was Sergeant Hammer the whole time, and WildHeart just didn't have an answer for that, because it didn't feel like we were going into the same team's comms that was winning and losing. So if a reverse sweep does come, not the biggest surprise if Hammers just continues to be banned.
Hey, I love the idea of reverse sweep. I love the idea of 10 games today. We're on the road for that, and we're getting ready for map number 4. Exciting stuff between both these teams. I do really like how WildHeart played that last game. They looked the best in this series thus far. Obviously, they won the map, but still, like they executed so well. I think Weary Day. That was the Weary Day that I think we were looking for, Grubby. Like, that was the Weary Day, like, where it's like, okay, that's the Uther that everyone's like, holy crap, his Uther is the best in the league. And I think that was the showcase game for Weary Day right there. And let's go ahead and find out where we're going to for map number 4. I'm going to be able to continue our discussion here between these 2 teams, as it is going to be Chili Mountain choosing to take us to Garden of Terror as Chili Mountain, the losing team. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry, I read that backwards. It's Chili Mountain will be choosing the map, yes, as they will be going to Garden of Terror, and that will give first pick priority over to WildHeart. I had one of those, Grubby, I had one of those moments where you're looking at the Immortal race and you kind of like Immortal dyslexia and you like flip everything backwards. I just did that with the teams in my notes. But either way, we're going to Garden of Terror, Grubby. The new map got voted in by the CCL players as Volskaya was voted out. What are your thoughts here, as it's a bit of a different map and playstyle. A lot of camp priority, a lot of team fighting.
Yeah, and you know what else is good here, Sergeant Hammer? I guess we're not going to see it at all anymore. But yeah, it's true. There are a lot of hobbies on this map. Last game, I would characterize the draft of Chili Mountain as not super specific to the map. They really tried to just ignore the race. And if you don't have race, you also don't have defense, which means you can never lose, which means you must win all the time. To be honest, the coordination wasn't good enough for it, nor do I think their draft actually good enough for it. So not only was there no hammer, but it also seems like they kind of lost purpose. I'm very curious to see how it goes here if there is another Sergeant Hammer ban, because Justin couldn't have nailed it more. Normally, we go into a team winning, and you hear, "Oh yeah, their draft is their comps are way better." We go into the team losing, it's like, "Oh yeah, it's way worse," and it kind of goes hand in hand. And it was actually polar opposite so far, so it does feel like a Hammer thing. In fact, it's very reminiscent of yesterday's series, Granite Gaming versus Simplicity. Simplicity won 2 games in a row with Maiev. And it was even very obvious it was because of Maiev. Once Maiev started getting banned, Granite Gaming won 3 in a row. Wasn't like super easy or anything like that, but that could be happening here. I mean, WildHeart bans Tracer and Hammer, right? They're just flipping it now to make it seem like it could be different, but that's what's gonna happen.
No, and that's what I was saying too. Like, I really do think that this was okay. We had the break after the first 2 games. WildHeart sat down and was like, I wonder why we're losing. Dino gets Tracer unaverted, or Ultralisk gets the hammer, and then we lose. It's super weird. I wonder if we just get rid of 2 heroes that we cannot control, if we can win out on the game. But now, as we are here on Garden of Terror Justing, Junkrat first pick? Any Junkrats?
It is definitely better here. You have the ability to stall the objective and also be a goalie on a big map where there's a lot of places where people can push. It does feel like these teams have slightly weird priorities. Okay, so we do see the Junkrat come out. It does make sense. The main thing for WildHeart, though, is that they're going to need to make sure that they pick something that does % damage that can kill back frontliners when you pair it with the Junkrat. The main kind of drawback to Junkrat in a draft is if you're planning on playing a normal double ranged, you're somewhat limited in what your other ranged has to be. Especially now with the Diablo picked up, it basically has to be either a Tychus or something like a Greymane. Tychus is kind of the normal expected one with the Junkrat, but you're sort of forced into that. The main exception to that being, we've seen from 30k Cure playing things like the Thrall, and hypothetically Imperius should work as well with % damage. So we'll see what WildHeart pairs with this. The expectation is for something like a Greymane or a Tychus, but they might not prioritize that here. They might look for something like a support to kind of keep their draft really flexible and not get banned out. Johanna instead, so trying to dodge some more tank choke from Chili Mountain is Haven. He has been focused quite heavily in the draft, so not a huge surprise to take it now so that they don't get choked out of tanks.
Well, I mean, we already got rid of Sergeant Hammer and Murden, so that's 2 tanks gone. Uther will be removed as well, so Grubby, technically that's a 3rd tank right there to be banned away.
Yeah,
Uther's
a
a tank too.
I wanted to ask you something, Justin. Junkrat gets picked. Normally, in Storm League, I pick Johanna against that. Are you falling in a draft trap if you simply respond to Junkrat with Johanna, or are you leaving like an even better tank like Diablo or something? Why do you think this is not happening?
I think there's other responses to the Junkrat if you need to pick things into it. Johanna is easy because you can just press your Iron Skin and walk into it, but that's also assuming that there's nothing else that you kind of need to hold your Iron Skin for.
Yes.
And it also, I guess, depends on what like the initial CC setup is, because if Johanna can get 100 to 0'd within 1 CC, then you don't really have the luxury of doing that. Things like Urel. Urel's kind of the main one to be able to cleanse it, and then now they have the Rhaegar as well with the short cleanse. I don't think it's hugely important that they got that for that specific reason. I think it's probably mostly just, I mean, in this game, it's just because Johanna's so strong, right? But in general, it's definitely just a safe thing to do. It makes your draft, the rest of your draft, a lot more flexible, so you don't have to think about countering the Junkrat.
Yes. So what do you think?
I really like these drafts, yeah.
This looks a lot more standard for Chili Mountain. Doesn't look like they have auto won the draft like they did in their first 2 games. There's no Sergeant Hammer here. They do have very strong picks, though. They have pretty much S-tier picks across the board.
Yes.
We haven't seen quite as much Falstad until this game, and Falstad is definitely underrated right now. Him not being picked in the early rotations against any team that's basically not the 30k with here potentially picking Zeratul against it. There's really no fear of picking Junkrat early, or Falstad early. So WildHeart also has a very WildHeart style comp. It's very front to back focused. It's got a strong duo backline with the Junkrat and the Greymane, which was kind of expected, the Greymane into the Diablo. There is still a difficult time to be able to kill a Diablo, though. You have the Gust appeal for him, you have the % healing from Brightwing, you just have the Spell Shield, the Spell Armor. I think Chili Mountain's composition might be slightly better, but this one's about a 50-50 in the draft. I don't think there's a clear-cut winner in the draft. this is the first game where I'd say that the drafts are basically completely even, and both teams have their win conditions.
Oh, we'll find out what's going to happen here. Thank you, Justin, as always, for your analysis and breakdown, because we got WildHeart in the blue, Weary Day on the Rhaegar, Mason Blaze on the Greymane, Zergling on the Blaze, Haben on the Joanna, and Ibetings on the Junkrat. Over on the side of Chile Mountain, we're looking at Ultralisk on the Sylvanas, Dayquoz on the Hogger, Masquerade on the Diablo, Banana on the Brightwing, and Dino on the Falstad. Grubby?
Yeah?
I'm going to say a Chile Mountain win, but that's because I want a game 5. Does that make any sense? Like
None at all,
okay.
Bahamut, because it would be 3-1.
No. So I'm saying is I'm trying to I'm doing that thing that casters do when they call for a team to close out a series, but then maybe they don't. Maybe WildHeart rallies here and we can go to that game 5. You know, just that little.
Are you channeling the power of the caster jinx? It only works when you don't intend it.
You're right. But I am actually really torn on these two drafts. I really like both of them in so many different ways when it comes to blinds, the post 10 fight, the ancestor healings, the overall damage output, and the control. But you look at the side of Chile Mountain, and a lot of the same things can be said. You got control from this Diablo, Hogger, Brightwing Polymorphs, Gust from Falstad, big bursting damage and global value from the Brightwing Falstad combo. It is a hard draft to call, but I do think Chile Mountain can eke this one out at the end of Garden of Terror. What do you think about all this, Grubby, as we've let you ponder about these two drafts for Garden?
Yeah, I really think it is a very even draft, but I do feel like there's a little bit more late game power on Chile Mountain's side. Greymane is a strange pick. His job, like, he used to be such a good trader. He could trade blows with the opponent, just do a lot of damage, stay alive with his mobility. And that doesn't really work anymore. These days, he's mostly a cursed bullet delivery person, like a mailman of a cursed bullet, and that's about that. Like, yeah, he's got like mobility and damage and dive and whatnot, but he's vulnerable. He's vulnerable into a Sylvanas, into a Brightwing, into a Hogger, into a Diablo. He's gonna curse bullet Diablo. It'll be about whether, you know, there's gonna be the phase shift from Brightwing popping in on time, and when that happens, Diablo's gonna eat everyone alive with lightning breath. And that's how I see that happening. As Johanna gets tossed in, she's fine. This is a nice push. I think in the late game, Chile Mountain has the advantage. If WildHeart is gonna want to win this game, they have to be ahead level 13 flat against level 12 flat by that time, and kind of take it from there and get like the 3 out of the 4 Planetary seats. That's how I see that. It's an even game. I think Chile Mountain will win it.
Okay, I like that. I like that analysis, and I think we'll definitely find out quite quickly as to how things will go. Our first seed up and available on the positional advantage side to WildHeart Esports, meaning it is spawning on the leftmost side. So WildHeart has a closer wells and retreat points to the mid and bottom lane, respectively, as the 7 Talon is about a level away for both sides. Blaze and Falstad still matching up in the top lane. Falstad playing to the upper portion, probably around the bush, which makes it a little bit harder to target some of those auto attacks because vision and all of that does affect how the character model does go for auto attacks. As Dino picks up a couple more stacks. Now I do want to talk about this because we hadn't really talked about talents too deeply here. We do have Dino going into the frequent flyer at level 1. We're going to see the auto attack build from this Falstad. Can be very strong. We don't see it too often. The big priority is the Q build, if you will, the Gathering Storm. Weary Day might not get delayed out here. Actually, he cancels it and looks for Banana with the friend of Zergling, who made a great rotation. First blood to the side of WildHeart Esports. Where was Falstad to call the rotation?
Maybe he did. We don't know, right? Sure. This one, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be like his extra job. Oh, Dino, wow. It's going to be Dino's extra job here to take down Johanna and Blaze, his percentage damage. Sylvanas already has a bunch of percentage damage, so you would think, well, you know, one auto attacker, one mage, and Johanna has blinds, why go AA build? That's still how I see it, but I give so much respect to Dino that all I'll just do is rationalize his choice, rather than criticizing it because there's blinds, therefore AA is bad.
Yeah.
He's doing this because he wants to do a lot of split push. It shows his macro orientation. Yo, Banana H is getting farmed, dude. Twice in a row within like 40 seconds. But this shows that Dino is going to basically go core. I call it going full Zagara. You know, the Infest style Zagara. He gets a counter kill there. And nice job, Ultralisk and Dino getting that. He's going to do a lot of side pushing, I think.
Could you say that the members of WildHeart Esports really want to banana Sunday? Because it's Sunday! Get it, Grubby? That's a polymorph onto Haben. He's going to pop the other and get it back away. As Grubby says it was great, production whispers in my ear that it was awful. But the 10 talent tier is right around the corner for both of these teams.
I heard your punt into that. So I was warming up my laughing muscles. That's why I was ready.
It. Thank you.
Even for that. Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate the sympathy laughs as the 10 talent will be here. I don't think we get a Hinterlands, but it's a funny thing to think about. But realistically, the big thing I'm actually wondering about is Hogger, who will go into Shockwave. So no Hortipult to kind of create some more choke points for the Diablo to play into, or even terrain for him to Shadow Charge into. Pretty standard heroics across the board. Though I will point this out, Grubby. I was thinking about this when you were talking about Cursed Bullet. There's a lot of squishy members on Chili Mountain. We gotta go for the throat Greymane.
Okay, but I've seen a lot of Greymanes that went go for the throat that end up regretting it eventually.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
And maybe less the other way around. But let's see how it goes.
In some of the other, because I jump around to different leagues throughout the week, and I practice little things in my own casting. So I've been casting a couple of Heroes Lounge games, which are EU-based grassroots league, and I have been seeing a lot more go for the throat Greymane from the EU leagues, and it's not like and this is like different varieties of player level, anywhere from Division 1 Plus, which is the highest level Master Plus players, to Division 7, who are lower tier players, but overall, like I'm still seeing go for the throat across the board in different playstyles. So it is interesting. Maybe it's getting a resurgence right now. Phase shift from Brightwing onto Masquerade will connect.
See, if he had Cursed Bullet, Diablo would now be still full life. Wouldn't have prepped and killed him at all. That's a nice shockwave. There's a cleanse. In comes Falstad. Mighty Gust. Lightning Breath. Haben.
I think Haben was like hoping to be the one to get the Ancestral or something, or maybe he was like, oh, level 20, I'll get the Farseer's Blessing if I hug the Greymane. But it's a double kill to Chili Mountain, and they will get their second out of 3 seeds.
Yeah, and this is kind of where Chili Mountain needed to be. They need to get the... Oh no, actually, never mind. I remember what I said. It's where WildHeart needed to be. They needed to get the kills by this time. According to my analysis, it would now be Chili Mountain that will get the W in this game after that.
Oh, Zergling, he gets a Jet Propulsion. He's going to try and back away. Ultralisk trying to body block. That is going to be a pause. So when we we'll find out what's going on with it looks like it is a Discord issue, if I'm reading the message correct in-game.
Oh, I thought he wanted to go to the disco now, which, it is Sunday night.
I mean, it is Sunday. Grubby, August 5th through 7th at Mall of America, there's going to be the HeroesCCL LAN Finals. We should have a disco
interesting.
night.
Tell me more. What is a disco night, Bahamut?
We get DJ Jules to play a bunch of music, and we all dance and have fun.
Wow, that sounds really fun. If I am at all able to, I would definitely go to Minnesota to the Mall of America on August 5th to 7th to witness the CCL Heroes of the Storm competition live, and also have fun outside of the game with my friends that also enjoy Heroes of the Storm. Let's go, Disco! As we're back in the game, level 13 is about to get reached for Chili Mountain, and they're up a hero as well. They're going to make an aggressive adventure into WildHeart's fort here, and they're going to try to kill Ivy Tinks.
Ivy Tinks is low. The Ancestor healing on a 27-second cooldown, and that will be another kill to the side of Chili Mountain, who tried to push in through this bottom lane with the Black Arrows of Ultralisk. Those will expire, and the waves are here. Masquerading Crew, they want the fort, for sure.
Yeah. Nice kill there. Chili Mountain is picking up advantage after advantage, recovering from their poorer performance in game number 3. They're now in the prime spot. Though I will say this seat location is difficult. Yo, Masquerade 1v4?
He's fine. He's got Soul Shield. He's got Fire Stomp. He's got a Cleanse, per se, with his Lightning Breath. So Masquerade looking okay right now. The next seed will be on the WildHeart side of the map. You want to jump into WildHeart comms here?
All right, let's jump into some WildHeart comms. Let's go.
I think they're probably on camps. Like
they're probably they're on.
Yeah, Diablo's bot.
He's stalling overall.
That's one stall.
I'm here. No Diablo.
Just Brightwing close.
Okay, just slowly. This is really favorable for us. Like,
Yeah, I'm on the way. I'm on the way.
Okay. Watch this. He's gonna eat it.
They're pushing top. Can we defend top or no?
Oh, Hogar. Oh, fracking. Oh,
Okay, I'm capping. I cap. Slowly.
Yeah. Flanking my W out if I can.
Right wing has another song.
You Diablo?
Oh, yeah, look.
No damage.
We're losing top.
Losing bottom too. Okay, I'm just clearing the wave. I cleared top. They can't
I'm gonna
cap,
grab mid
so it should be
experience.
okay.
I'm on the way. Look at Hogger if he walks in this. Hogger. Banana.
Not there.
That's Gust.
Coming now.
Yo. Dexter.
Got a W here. Nice. Good.
Nice.
Oh.
I'll
I
finish
push on
wave.
top. Hey,
Okay, you
to this
can do-
camp. Can
yeah.
you get bottom, Ivy?
Yeah, I'm going.
We need.
Definitely a different level of energy. I do like the cool thing we actually heard from Mason Blaze there. If anyone was wondering like why is Mason Blaze autoing onto a camp in the middle of a fight, he was trying to keep his inner beast active. That's what you actually heard him say. He's just I'm keeping it up. I think is what he was basically saying. Just hitting that siege giant camp, and Zergling gets ganked in the top. Things are spiraling in favor for Chili Mountain.
Yeah, that was tough. They tried to make plays on Junkrat's traps, but he was always getting safe. Chili Mountain showed a very good mastery of knowing exactly how far they could push things while doing really debilitating levels of delay and side pressure. They've got a perfect control of the macro here. It's becoming increasingly hard to see how WildHeart turn this around. Trying to make a play there. That was a Blessed Shield with no real follow-up at all, no damage reach.
Gus for the Falstad's up and available. Go for the throat from the Greymane. I don't know if it's been used yet in the game. I haven't really heard the audio for it, but it also kind of sounds a little bit like Darkflight at the same time, so it's kind of hard to judge those two. But 16 talents here is just a chunk away for the side of WildHeart, as this might be the seed. It looks like Garden Tear will go over to the side of Chili Mountain.
Wait,
Falstad flight,
doing a
Gust?
Storm Leak Gust here, but actually it is better than Storm Leak Gust because his whole own team didn't die. It was a pretty aggressive play there. Weary gets the Ancestral, but he gets tossed into the stun! Boom! Shakalaka! Rhaegar goes down, Zergling as well. Chili Mountain is cleaning up. They've got the synchronicity of 3-lane push and get 2 kills. That's usually a nail in the coffin for at least 1 keep. Chili Mountain is absolutely vibrant right now.
They're playing extremely well with 2 of these Garden Tears above 70% or 50% HP. The bottom one getting chunked quickly, but that's because it's on this keep. There's the sidewall to go down. Masquerade and crew, they want a staggered death here. They're looking at Haben. That's a lot of damage onto Diablo. He tries to get out of the tower range. Sylvanas locks it down for a second. Masquerade needs to fire Breath here just to try and get some zoning damage on the enemy as the phase shift from Banana comes through. Blaze just now respawning. Keep in the bottom lane will fall. Garden Terror in mid has expired, and the top lane is going to be cleared out. We'll see some keep front gate damage, but I think that's about it. Really good objective phase from the side of Chili Mountain. What can WildHeart do? They've got a level and a half to make a play. After that, Chili Mountain will be having 20, and that's just going to be another turtle up moment for WildHeart.
Yeah, they're going to have to turtle up quite long. They do have that... the fact that they're... no, the fact that there's 0 out of 3 on the plant pods for Chili Mountain, that may feel like WildHeart has a lot of time, but these kind of games do tend to go out of control a little bit with catapult pressure, 1 per 3 waves, top and mid, and 1 every wave bot. This is usually quite a difficult problem. But WildHeart, in terms of the objective, absolutely can turtle up here quite a bit. The question is, are their level 20s good enough to crack the egg of Chili Mountain's defenses? Greymane gets Hunter's Blunderbuss, like, okay, cool, you know, cleaving auto attacks, 2 ancestral healings, a 50 armor bunker that drops extra oil, radiating faith for a bit longer stun and hitting 1 extra target. Junkrat gets bigger balls with those cannonballs. I don't feel like any of those are game-winning enough compared to what could be like, let's say, Death Metal, Bolt of the Storm Mash Pit, Mighty Gust times Super Wind Tunnel. So I think it's going to be tough, but they're going to have to try and hold on until then. Weary Day goes in the bunker. He gets away. Lightning Breath. He's dropping real low. That was a Earth Shield? Was it? Yeah, Earth Shield to keep himself alive. Now the turnaround on Masquerade. He's real low. There's no follow-up on Brightwing and Diablo. They're so low. But WildHeart has to run because they're falling themselves. Nice spin from Dequaza. 1 kill for Chili Mountain.
And that's 20 talent tier achieved by Chili Mountain. Dino going for Epic Mount, so no Wind Tunnel Gust. There's the Epic Mount. There's the Gust into a single target. Hey, you don't need Wind Tunnel if you guess I don't. I guess you do need Wind Tunnel because you would have gotten the kill.
Yeah.
I mean,
he would have flown slower and it wouldn't have connected with the Apocalypse, to be fair.
True. But what we also need to talk about is what's happening in bottom lane, because Siege Giants have arrived to the core of WildHeart Esports, and it's already taking down the shielding. The top lane keep will be saved for now as another seed spawns on the center top map.
2 levels, 1.2 levels. The first seed coming out here. WildHeart only needs a single seed. Their playbook right now says turtle till 20, just get 1 seed, and use those to crack 3 forts away from Chili Mountain. I don't think they can realistically go get a keep with that. Remains to be seen, but 3 forts, they can try.
So clear through top lane. You can even see how WildHeart's like on the minimap. You can see how they're all kind of just they're sending like Blazejaw into a lane, but they still have a lot of members floating nearby to make a quick rotation if there's a gank onto anyone who steps out for wave clear. Junkrat is scouting out as well. Falstad utilizing that hammering to check the bush. Sets up inside bush. Not sure if Zergling did see any sort of setup into that, but he'll just go ahead and do the safe clear from range. Dino walks through a concussion mine. Doesn't go off, but that still is vision provided to the Junkrat.
Dino feels so safe in the side lane because he's the only Falstad that always goes for Epic Mount. A wind up of just half a second instead of 2. So that he can fly away really quickly if he gets ganked at all.
And it's like, what, 25-second cooldown? Yeah, because you reduce the cooldown by 50 seconds. So you have a 25-second cooldown on flight with a, as you mentioned, wind up of 0.5 seconds. So you can really maneuver around the map very quickly. I love it's like Dahaka with Apex Predator at level 20. I don't take it often, but when you have those moments where you can take it and kind of brush talk around, like Towers of Doom is a great map for it. Being able to jump around the map and split soak and then get into a flank position into the enemy around a single altar phase. But right now, Dino just kind of scouting out for the team, waiting in the wings.
Okay, Johanna picks the one ult that I didn't mention. The other 5 were correct predictions. She goes blinded by the light.
I was wondering if she would with the level 1, but sorry.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, I picked this always as well, but we've seen a lot of Radiating Faith just to get the bigger one-shot, but not really attractive into the main target, Diablo, as... I'll tell you what, Bahamut, Diablos have looked pretty difficult to kill today, and in CCL in general.
Oh, yeah. I think yesterday, Cattle showcased how nearly or nigh impossible it can be to kill a Diablo. I think also Cattle did have a Brightwing that day, too, and he had a Soul Shield. So there's a lot of spell power mitigation, which was the draft that they were dealing with. But either way, let's talk about this, because 30k versus Diamond Hands was a very fun fight. This is Haben and crew looking to invade this camp. Dino might have shown in bottom lane, but he's got that Epic Mount. They have to be cautious of this as the steal on the camp comes through for WildHeart.
Yeah, I think the Knight, like, if WildHeart gets the Knight, it's not that big of an issue. Falstad could actually threaten core. I'm surprised he comes back here. Does a gust just for the interrupt. There is a rather large siege camp. Let's see, a siege camp and 3 catapults. Yeah, this is absolutely a threat on the core. And you know what? Dino can fly to the core at any time. If Chili Mountain forces a fight and Dino goes onto core, I think that's actually win condition already.
Lightning Breath from the Diablo. We do have a top lane fort to fall in favor for the members of WildHeart as IBTings has to go back. We have a decent chunk of HP off of this core, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch Chili Mountain getting 2 seeds before this. I actually thought this was the second of 3 seeds for Chili Mountain. I didn't realize. I actually completely blanked on that. Wow, okay. That is really unfortunate for WildHeart here.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they had to make a stand, right? But it was a catch-22 because there was 5 catapults on core, if you count Siege Camp as one, which you can. Chili Mountain put them in a checkmate position. I love it. It's the combination of fruitful micro and macro management, the lethal combination, the BM flight, the double kill. Okay, it was actually a sensible flight. Cool. But yeah, this is going to be the victory. Nice gust into Plant Terror. Dino played amazingly. Chili Mountain played amazingly. They recovered from the game 3. And they close out 3-1. GG, well played.
GG goes to the members of Chili Mountain. I was thinking we could do a game 5, but I think my cast a curse was a curse to someone else. Either way, still a great game, but I think, Grubby, you did mention it. The early game was very, very critical for WildHeart to find a lead, and they just didn't. They had a couple early game kills that were promising, but then things really shifted quickly. Post 10, pre-13 here, Jesting.
Yeah, this is a trend that we've been noticing quite a bit, is the early game Diablos are a little bit squishy, and once you get into the late game, once he starts getting some souls built, he becomes very, very invincible if you don't have the tools to deal with him. I'm very surprised that we did not see the Cursed Bullet. That was the expectation and why you picked Greymane. Go for the throat pick instead. I think that is something that I'm expecting Mason Blaze to regret in hindsight after losing this match. I really expected the Cursed Bullet. I think as soon as you don't pick it, you don't really have the tools to kill the Diablo, which is what we saw. Masquerade feeling very invincible in this game. But the main takeaway for me from this game was the Dino difference. I think Dino basically carried this game. I can't give him more credit. Like he is undoubtedly the MVP of the game. He basically won the game by himself with that last play. Like, he made the game-winning play on Falstad, and he did it with the Epic Mount, which is something that some games I've been critical of him taking that, because he always goes that. He doesn't go the Wind Tunnel when he plays Falstad, but this game it made a lot more sense, and he used it very, very well and got a ton of value out of it. This was perfectly played, basically, by Dino. He does things... He understands on the Falstad when to group with his team better than anyone else by far, and that was showcased pretty much every single time he grouped with the team. He gets as much value as he possibly can in the side lanes, and then at the absolute last possible moment, he'll regroup with his team and get the most value possible. We saw that with the big gust into the wall on bottom, where he shows up, gusts them into the wall, and then just goes back to doing Dino things, splitting everywhere on the map. We saw it at the end there in the game-winning play. That Night Camp invade has felt like it's been where all of the games lately have been ending on Garden. For this time it didn't. Chili Mountain had the restraint to wait while Dino gets the bot siege. He pushes in bottom with the siege, he lets the siege push, and he gets back in time with the flight, just in time to get the max range gust to stop the channel. Like, it couldn't have been more perfect from Dino. He planned all this out with the pushing the bottom, letting the siege go in, Junkrat has to go back to defend it, and then the Johanna's left behind. That game was Dino difference. Absolutely nuts. Incredible play by Dino, and well played by Chili Mountain.
I think this is one of those games that I'm going to go back and load up the replay, click on Dino, hit L on my keyboard, and just watch and see how he did like all these little things, because there's so much nice like mechanical things that we can learn from like just focusing it on to one singular hero like that. So excited to see more Falstad play from him in the future. I love the Falstad that he's been playing, and I wish, as you were saying, he's been kind of underrated in the season. So we'll see if he starts to rise up a little bit, or even variety in his build. You know, Grubby, I know you've really had some great games with W build Falstads on your team, haven't you?
I love it when Falstads go W on Cursed Hollow, when the player that needs to do the side laning actually only PvPs and dies. I love it. You need those juicy W stacks. Such a sick talent. Everyone should play Falstad W.
You chase the enemy into the front gate of their towers, you get one extra stack because it's a horrible talent, and then you take 2 tower shots, and then you almost get killed in ganks. So it's great talent. Don't actually take it. Take auto build or take Q build. Just don't even touch W at all. But you know,
but it is interesting, right? How Dino Falstads, because we always talk about Mighty Wind Tunnel to be such a game-winning ult, and he, like, when you actually stop thinking about Mighty Wind Tunnel for just a bit, and you look at what Epic Flight is. Yeah. It's a 25-second cooldown Bolt of the Storm. Almost as good as Bolt of the Storm. There's just the tiniest of wind-ups. And it is 20 times as big range as Bolt of the Storm. It has less than half the cooldown. It's pretty sick. Like, actually. It's so much better than everyone else's Bolt of the Storm. And all you have to give up for it is Wind Tunnel. But yeah, that was sick. I hear we have an interview, Bahamut.
We do have an interview ready to go with Dequaz, so we can bring him in on this. Welcome in. How you feeling about beating WildHeart Esports?
I'm feeling great, because they were one of the supposed to be strongest opponents, so it feels super good beating them.
Cool. I do want to ask one question. You played a lot of Hogger today, and you played a really, really good Hogger today. What's kind of the critical thing when trying to land a really good shockwave into the enemy team? Are you looking for a specific angle, grouping, or is it more or less just how the fight's been evolving?
It's just when I see the most opponents, I just press R and I hope it hits. I kind of missed a lot of them last game, I think. But yeah, I just see how the fight evolves and just try to hit the most people.
Okay, all right. I'll take that into my own games. Justin, any questions for Dequaza?
Yeah, so you played Vikings a bit today. How strong do you think they are? Do you think that's a Towers of Doom only thing, or do you think that Vikings are potentially a bit over or underrated right now?
I think on towers they are like super good, especially if they don't have like picks that can like bother Vikings, like Zeratul or Genji, or like especially if the offlane is bad against Vikings, I can just like literally bully him. And in that case, they had Blaze. Blaze can push into Viking, which is kinda annoying, but he didn't do it, so I had a kind of a free game. And yeah, I think on this map is super good. On the other map it's less good, but on towers is super good.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll see more Vikings on towers, I think, in all of our Storm League games. Grubby, any questions for Dequaza?
Dequaza, you guys used Sergeant Hammer twice to have seeming draft victories. Of course, execution still matters, but you left them looking helpless to the point that they banned it in Game 3. Watching Game 3, your draft was different. You didn't have the race power as much. You tried to use that big melee, heavy crowd control composition, and it didn't look that effective. At that moment, we thought you guys needed the Sergeant Hammer to get the victory, and when you don't have it, it suddenly looks a lot worse. Why was that wrong, you think, what we thought?
You mean the Battlefield game, right?
Right, like suddenly you don't have Hammer and you didn't look as good.
I think just the Imperius pick was really bad. Just anything but Imperius would have helped us way much. Like, I don't know, just a range like Grumman, because we couldn't do much with the triple melee. We couldn't force any fights, I feel like. And we were just getting one shot when we were trying to force. So like the Imperius pick was grief for sure.
Oh, and then you recovered really nicely in game number 4. You guys played a tactical game. Diablo looked invincible on the front line. Dino always on the side lane with Falstad going what to Storm Leaguers may look like a mistake, auto attack build into a Johanna blind. You know, you guys used it for macro. And were you confident with the draft that you guys could definitely get the victory there? Because to us, initially, it looked like a 50-50 draft. Do you agree or disagree?
I mean, once we were ahead with the Falstad, I feel like they couldn't do anything, because like whenever we had to play a seed, we could delay a lot. And Falstad with the Epic Mount could like just split push and pressure core. So like at this point, when they were behind with the Falstad, it was almost game over, but like everything can happen. We can just all die and then we lose. But we are much ahead once we are ahead.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the insight into the team. Next weekend, you are going to be going up against 30K. Any thoughts on that matchup on Saturday, June 18th?
Well, they're the strongest, and unfortunately, I won't be there to play against them. So they're gonna have Make subbing for me. But I still think they can beat them for sure, because I think we are the best, obviously. And yeah, I just hope my team will finish them.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for the insight, as I mentioned. Before you skedaddle out of here, get to go celebrate and get into your scrims, or relaxing, it sounds like. Are there any shouts that you'd like to give? The floor is all yours.
It kind of lagged. Is it the shadow times?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, shoutouts.
Oh, yeah, it lagged. Okay, shout out to my team, obviously, they are awesome. Shout out to Chili Mountain, big sponsor. Shout out to CCL, and shout out to the chat and all the viewers, obviously. That's all.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You have a fantastic evening, and good luck in your preparation or your relaxation for next week's matchup. Alrighty. Well, with that, that is our first matchup of the day in the books. We have got Chili Mountain taking a victory over WildHeart Esports, 3-1. As always, got to get your thoughts on the matchup or any takeaways from the matchup. We'll start with Justin.
Just the dino difference, especially in the last game. The way that he, on anything, is able to sneak value, macro value, even in Battlefield of Eternity. They're getting pushed in bottom, and Dino's taking an entire fort by himself while not playing Sergeant Hammer. Very impressive. So, just, if you're playing ranged, watch Dino, because he's kind of the standard to try to live up to right now. It's more than just pushing your buttons good, it's being constantly aware of how to get the most value anywhere on the map.
Alrighty, Grubby, any takeaways from our first map of the day or in the broadcast thus far?
I'm ready to be impressed by our next upcoming match between Oxygen and Storm, but my sentiment right now is that 30k and Chili Mountain are the two best teams. Not a hot take, I know, because, that's literally what the score says. But yeah, it's like, oh my god, you absolute rebel. But yeah, Chili Mountain looks really, really solid. They're looking more and more complete with every match that they play. Did have that weird little BOE draft, but they're aware of it already, and that's a good thing. So I think Chili Mountain is incredibly powerful. It should definitely be seen as a top 2 favorite. And yeah, I'm looking forward to their next match, even if they don't have Dequaza. But even more so looking forward to the LAN, because I'm pretty sure that both these two teams are going to be there now with the current score. Really amazing.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling as well. But we will find out about that match next weekend, because we are getting ready for our second best of 5 of the weekend, the 4th best of 5 of HeroesCCL week number 5. We're going to be seeing Oxygen Esports going up against Storm Esports. And before we get set up for our interview, I need to remind you all of something very important here. It's up to you to get the best picks for the winning team live as you're watching on cclmarkets.com. It's free. Did you hear that, Justin? It's free! If you're wrong, you can sell your shares and buy the other team before the match is over. CCL markets trade from 0 to 100, with shares of the winning team valuing at 100 and shares of the losing team expiring at 0. There's tons of prizes this season, so join and play during every HeroesCCL broadcast. Shout out once again to Ball Street for partnering with HeroesCCL Season 4. But of course, as I had alluded to, we are getting ready for our next best of 5 of the day, Oxygen Esports versus Storm Esports. It is going to be a really, really interesting matchup because Oxygen looks so strong, but they have had some maps taken off them from other teams that have looked weaker in the earlier portions of the season. Storm Esports also found their first victory last weekend as well, up against Granite Gaming. So Storm is kind of riding that high. They need to start scoring some points to push themselves further up in the standings. But of course, we're going to take a small little break. In this break, as always, we've got the amazing, the illustrious, the god tier interviewer of Kyle Ferguson to sit down with June from Storm Esports to talk about the upcoming matchup. And as I said, when we come back, we'll have Oxygen versus Storm Esports. Don't go anywhere. This is HeroesCCL presented by Wisdom.